Okay.
Okay, here we go.
Tell me when Mr. Reyes is in. Hello? Hello?
Nancy, you're coming online.
Um, go to political court to Dita. Elaine DeValier, do you know her?
You're coming online now.
We're starting right now live. I'll try to do my best here. Okay, are we ready?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Reyes, are you in?
I am in. Good evening, gentlemen.
Hey, okay. So you're the first of this new experiment. We've never done this where we try to have a organization where we of all the candidates and trying to run this thing on time. So for those that
Make
are
sure he's recording this meeting.
somebody's talking. Can you mute that person?
Yes, I will.
Okay. So we're starting our meeting now. And this is the Kendall Federation Homeowner Associations, Kendall Federation of Homeowner Associations. And this is our sheriff's forum. Each candidate will have
do that. You'll need a data for your vehicle manufacturer.
Whoever said that, got to mute that too. So each candidate will get 10 minutes, 5 minutes to talk about themselves, where they see this position going, what they plan to do in this position, who they are, and then 5 minutes of questions. And we will start with Mr. Reyes. So show us how it's going to go. You get 5 minutes. And Marvin, can I ask you to time the 5 minutes? He's muted.
Miles is actually online. Our official
Miles, can you
timekeeper
time the
is
5
here.
minutes? Miles, can you time the 5 minutes?
Miles
No.
is muted right now.
Okay, I'll time the 5 minutes. Hang on.
We'll
Okay,
work together.
Mr. Reyes, you got it. Let's hear all about you, what you plan to do with this position. Who are you?
All right. So good evening, everyone. I'm James Reyes, first and foremost to the Kendall Federation of HOAs. Thank you so much for putting this together. It's a historic race. It's the first time in 60 years that we're going to elect our sheriff here in Miami-Dade County, a true independent office, independent from county government, which is currently the model that we're working under. And as such, I'm truly honored and privileged to currently serve as your chief of public safety here in Miami-Dade County. I currently oversee Miami-Dade Police, Miami-Dade Fire Rescue, and Miami-Dade Corrections. For me, it's a true honor to serve the community who gave my family and I a new home. When we got to this country, it offered us every opportunity under the sky to achieve the American dream. And I'm truly grateful and honored to have this opportunity to give back to a community that gave me so much throughout my life. I was raised here in Miami-Dade County. I lived first in Carroll City. I was in Miami Gardens back then, and then ultimately lived the majority of my life in Hialeah. I'm a true proud product of the Miami-Dade school system, public school system. And then after that, I did my bachelor's right here in Miami Shores at Barry University. And then later on, I went on to earn a master's in criminal justice as well. But professionally, I started my career at the Broward Sheriff's Office. I had a very rewarding career, 23-year career there, experiencing the true elements of an independent sheriff's office that I think truly makes me a strong candidate for this position of sheriff here in Miami-Dade County. Throughout my career, I had the honor of working for 4 different sheriffs, 4 very different leaders, Democrats and Republicans alike. I take great pride in being able to say that under all four, I was able to get promoted as a result of the team building the talent, identifying that I was able to do as a leader and being able to give that talent the necessary resources and empowering them to truly perform to their optimal capabilities, which better served our community day in and day out as a public safety agency. Now, I started as in corrections as a cadet and then as a deputy, and I started moving up the ranks. I ended up holding every rank at the Broward Sheriff's Office all the way up to colonel. My last assignment was as the executive director overseeing the administration of law enforcement, fire rescue, and corrections, which is a responsibility somewhat like I have today, but in a true independent manner, where at the sheriff's office, I was also responsible for its budget that's over $1.2 billion, in addition to the administration of the more than 15 municipal law enforcement and fire rescue contracts that we had with municipalities throughout the county. And at the pinnacle of my career, while I was serving as the executive director and colonel there at the Broward Sheriff's Office, home came calling. Miami-Dade County did a national talent search for talent that could come and make some reforms in our correctional system here in Miami-Dade County, and also to challenge the status quo. The mayor wanted someone that was willing to come in and challenge the status quo and earn the buy-in from the men and women in uniform. And once I learned that this opportunity was in Miami-Dade County, it was a no-brainer. For me, it has been extremely rewarding to serve this wonderful community that gave me so much growing up. So as we move forward, I'm truly honored to serve this community and be able to earn the buy-in of the troops and the respect of this community, keeping them not only safe, but also basing everything on positive result leadership, proven positive results, which I've had throughout my entire career as a leader. And I take great pride in doing that here in my home county that raised me and gave me so much throughout so many years. As your sheriff, I have three very clear priorities. First and foremost is always to prioritize public safety, always putting our neighborhoods and our families first as it relates to public safety. And secondly, improving not only the communication and dialogue between the organization and the community, but also its transparency and its accountability. I think not only do we need to reflect our community, but we also need to reflect its values. I often say that the sheriff needs to be able to serve as the conscience of our community. And that's exactly what my goal is as sheriff. And lastly, as I travel the four corners of our community and talk to folks, they really would like to see an independent public corruption unit, and I'm indebted to them as I talk to them, and I am committed to implementing an independent, outside of county government public corruption unit within the first 30 days of me taking office. But experience matters, and for me, I am the only candidate at this time that has executive leadership experience in a sheriff's office, and
This
that's
is
where
where
we're.
I've got to stop you to go for questions now.
Okay, you
Sorry,
got it.
I don't know how else to do this. Jim, I see people saying they're trying to get in and you're not bringing them in. Do you see people trying to get in?
As people come online, Michael, I'm letting them in.
Okay. All right. So first question I have is, I have two questions and the board will ask two questions. So currently we have 3,225 sworn police officers in Miami-Dade County. I think we need to double that to really take care of us, to prevent crime, to investigate crimes. So as sheriff, what would be your goal to increase the number to, or do you think we have enough?
So first and foremost, and that's a very good question, and I've been asked that question. First and foremost, I think the residents of this county deserve a true needs assessment to be performed by whoever is elected sheriff for the entire county, so that we can all know exactly what the sheriff feels the needs of that organization is. But I can tell you, now that I have the benefit of being the chief of public safety in short time and assessing our status of officers, what I truly believe is I think we need to start from a blank slate. I think as a sheriff, the sheriff needs to be able to reevaluate, to your point, the increase in population, where that increase in population has taken place, and redistribute the resources that are there currently to include uniform personnel and increase the number of uniform personnel. I think we have some overlap in services that we could benefit from moving forward. And before simply just adding uniform personnel and expanding our budget, I would first do a needs assessment and reevaluate where we can better deploy our resources to get our biggest bang for our buck, so to speak.
Okay, next question, real quick here. I don't own a gun, but many of my friends say I should. One reason they say is because you never know when you'll need it, like maybe at home or driving in the community, and that's when you'll need it, and you'll be glad you have it. Also, they say the police can't get to you quickly enough in an emergency, and it's better off if you take care of the situation yourself. So my question is, do you believe, because of our way in life in Miami-Dade County, with our issues, with our crime, with our shootings, do you believe that every homeowner in Miami-Dade should have a gun, of course, with the training? And should every home have a gun? Does it make it safer, or do we need that?
I think that it is the beauty of living in this country, and it's one of the reasons my father, who was a political prisoner in Cuba, brought me to this country where there were no arms. I think that is a right of each and every individual, and I don't think in any way, shape, or form should a politician or a sheriff tell a United States citizen what they should do in terms of their right to bear
And
arms.
do you think it makes us safer having a gun in our homes?
I think it all depends on the person, on the level of education that they have, the training they have on using their firearm, right? On maintaining their firearm. I think there's a lot of variables than just we're all safer if everyone has a firearm. I think
Okay.
it's a unique concept. I will give you that. However, it's a case by case basis, but however, I'd like to highlight the beauty of living in a country where we could have this discussion, because
Okay.
truly that's what it's all about.
Okay, to the board, any questions before we close down the first 10 minutes? To the board?
Yeah, I've got a question. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Mr. Reyes, first and foremost, our time is very short, so I'm going to ask you perhaps a question that demands real info, but in a very, very short response time. Please describe for us what comes to mind when I say this. Give us an example of a situation, a very, very difficult situation that you handled, and how you worked the situation to success.
Wow. Difficult situations. I mean, I've handled so many throughout my career, crises, especially during, I could only imagine, one that hits really near and dear to my heart is evacuations during hurricanes, and having to, convince folks that you are in of folks that are in danger, that they have to leave behind their only belongings, but that they have to put their life first. I mean, I could imagine, I could just think of situations where we had to evacuate homes and folks didn't want to leave their their prized possessions behind, but we needed to explain to them why these warnings needed to be heeded. And that there's nothing more than that. We work so hard to earn and get to a certain place in our lives, where we feel comfortable in our homes, and to have someone come and suggest to leave it all behind. I think of living here in South Florida, how many of our officers have that difficult experience handling that situation day in and day out during a hurricane warning, and not only beforehand, but even after impact, where we've all too often seen that even after condemned homes are condemned, our residents don't want to leave them. It really puts us in a difficult position, and it really tears at the emotion there of every officer that has to experience that.
Mr. Reyes, thank you that. To the board, listen, to keep it moving, you can be mad at me later, but we got to move on now. Okay,
Yes.
Mr. Reyes, you can stay and listen if you'd like.
Thank you so much.
Up to you. And Mr. Sanchez is coming in now.
Let's make sure that each candidate knows that we're going to cut them off after 5 minutes so we can get to the other questions.
Oh, okay, Mike, thank you so much. I want to take this opportunity to thank the Kendall Federation of
Now,
Homeland
you have 5 minutes, and then we're gonna just stop you and ask questions.
Okay, well, my name is Joe Sanchez. I, I'm running for sheriff, Miami-Dade County. I am the only candidate who's a veteran who served this country in the Army Reserve, came out of the Army Reserve and became a state trooper. I've been with the Florida Highway Patrol for 36 years on and off. In that capacity as a state trooper, I've had just the opportunity to serve in many specialty positions, road trooper, instructor, DUI unit, robbery, detail, special response team, SWAT. I graduated out of City Miami SWAT school. Community policing, dignitary protection, I was in charge of that for 4 years. And for the last, I would say 10 years, I've been the PIO, Public Information Office for the Florida Highway Patrol here in South Florida and in Monroe. So I also had the opportunity to run for public office and was elected. I was a city commissioner for the city of Miami from 1998 to 2009, where a tremendous experience there as an elected official. I remember being appointed to the city of Miami, and my first vote was to vote reference the city was in a $68 million deficit. We had an oversight board placed by the governor, so it was a tremendous experience for me to be able to lead the city out of that financial crisis, not by myself, but we're working with a lot of people that their hearts were in the right place. The experience that I got at the city, being able to balance budgets, is incredible. I balanced 11 budgets required by the state. Made very tough decisions in that city as an elected official. Honorably served it. In 2009, I ran for mayor. And I lost, and then I decided to go back to my commitment, which was law enforcement. So I went back to the Florida Highway Patrol, and there I was asked to be the public information officer. So you've probably seen me many, many times on TV, providing not only the news, but also an educational aspect of law enforcement. I've also had the experience to be elected as the PBA Vice President representing the Florida Highway Patrol troopers throughout the state, not only on contract negotiations. That's another important experience that I have here, being that I have been able to negotiate contracts as a president of a bargaining unit, vice president of a bargaining unit, and also as a city commissioner. So sitting at both sides of the table has given me that incredible experience that I have. I also served as the chairman of the Downtown Development Authority there, which was an incredible experience for me, having to supervise a board of very wealthy people with big egos, but we were able to accomplish a lot of things. And as you see, downtown Miami today is an incredible community that we were able to turn it over. So people live, work, and play there, where I remember at 5 o'clock, the shutters would go down and it was full of homeless and it was just a bad place to be. Well, we were able to turn that. I also had the privilege to be the chairman of the Bayfront Park, which is a trust that I had to oversee that. So I've had experience in hiring directors and firing directors, procurement. In there, I can tell you that the biggest responsibility that we have, not only overseeing that trust, was also we hold community events, including the New Year's Eve event, which hundreds of thousands of people, tens of thousands of people show up to celebrate New Year's. And that's an incredible experience working with law enforcement. I have the pleasure to work with John Timoney and Frank Fernandez and a lot of great chiefs that always thought my experience at that time as a former state trooper. So once again, I've enjoyed my career in law enforcement. I'm still there. I'm the only candidate who took a leave of absence to run for office. Other candidates are running for office and collecting a check from the county, so they're campaigning on taxpayers' dime. Also, I live here. I work here. I've served this community for many years. My family's here. I've been here 56 years. Came over from Cuba when I was 6 years old. This is a great country. And the first thing I did when I was able to serve is I joined the Army to give back to this country. So I'm a proud Cuban American. I'm a proud American. I've served this country, and I'm proud of my accomplishments. You still
Okay.
got time? I thought you were
You still have
stopping.
another 30 seconds. 30 seconds.
Oh, Mike, it's an honor for me to run for sheriff. I wasn't going to run for office till I see all these county officers, and being that I'm an outsider, I don't know anybody in that department, but seeing all these county officers, being that this is an independent position, and I, since day one, did not seek any political endorsement, didn't want none. The only endorsement I want is the people's endorsement. These people have reached out to all these politicians getting these endorsements when it's really could be an independent position where you separate law and order from politics. So I've had the opportunity to know both sides of the aisle, and I'm here to serve
Okay.
this. Yes.
Okay, so question number one for me is, currently we have 3,225 sworn officers in Miami-Dade County. And
Yes.
I think we need to double that number to prevent crime and to investigate crimes. From my understanding, only 50% of our murders are solved and only 25% of our robberies. I don't think we have enough. So as sheriff, what would be your goal to increase that number to? At the end of your first year, end of your second year, can you get us to 4,000 officers? 5,000? What's your goal?
Well, my goal is to increase officers, and this is what I'm going to do. First day is I got to start evaluating a police department that, once again, I'm an outsider, but I know the department pretty well. I can tell you that a lot of police officers in that department are holding administrative and clerical positions, which those positions could be done by civilians, and those officers could be put out on the street to work. Now, I can tell you that based on omnipresence, which is a term in law enforcement, is to put more police officers on the street, more boots on the ground. I'm a big believer that we could do that. We could do that. And it's not only putting more police officers out on the street, it's put them at the right time, at the right place, and for the right reason. And I believe that we could do that. We could put police officers, but especially in schools when school goes in and when they go out, we could put police officers to protect those children in our school, being that we have close to 800 schools in Miami-Dade County, only 300 Miami School Board police officers. So we're shorthanded. Thanks to all the municipalities that are helping out, including the Florida Highway Patrol at times, we're able to help schools and in churches too. So I want to put police officers in big areas where people are there, such as whether it be commercial. Want to put more police officers out there and just put police officers where people are there to be protected. So
okay, to our board. Let me ask the board. Any questions from our board?
I haven't finished short. I want to work with the military people, officers that are coming out, that are seeking employment. Those are great opportunities for officers, for people to join our department, the sheriff's office. Also, I want to start an auxiliary program. The Florida Highway Patrol has an incredible, successful auxiliary program to get citizens to come out and help us fight crime.
Okay, to the board. Any questions? To our board?
Sure, I'll ask you a question. Hi, Joe. Marvin Stein here.
Hey,
Would you describe to us a difficult situation that you've handled and how you successfully accomplished the task?
Oh wow, there's been so many of them. As a city commissioner in the city 11 years, God, we had so many hurricanes that came through our county, and that is an incredible experience that one has, an incredible commitment to serve the people that you represent. And I took the challenge once of working not only with the state government but also with the federal government. That was something that really was a big challenge to me in communicating and getting our things done. And I know that the old Orange Bowl there, we were able to, get FEMA to help bring food in, and I coordinated that with the city. I was very involved with Manny Diaz, who was the mayor at that time, and it was extremely hard. Also with COVID, I was assigned to the lieutenant governor, and we basically had to go just about everywhere, and basically do what we can to help people. And it's that. The other one that calls to mind was Value Jet, the plane that crashed in the Everglades. That was something that I was a member of the SWAT team, special response. We were out there a whole month in the heat. Really, there was not really much. There was no, there was no recovery. I mean, it was just, we were out there just to try to identify what we could, and we had to. That was something that has always stuck with me, and until this day, it's very hard for me to get off my mind, because that was a tough time. So those are the things challenges that I've been faced with a lot of challenges. I think that I am a person who could accept those challenges and work to accomplish them. I think the success is working with people, being able to have the right people on board to help you accomplish what you want to accomplish. And that's, I think, through experiences and stuff like that, it's what really makes a person a leader in the community.
Listen, thank you. I'm sorry it's just 10 minutes. Everybody's going to be upset with me, but that's what we have. So we learned about you. We learned who you are, and we appreciate it. And we're going to move to now. Thank you very much for coming. And we
I
move to
appreciate it.
Rosie.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Rosie, you're up.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me.
First 5 minutes, tell us about yourself and your plans for the office.
Absolutely. So, Rosie Cordero Stutz, Republican, running for office of sheriff. I'm a 28-year veteran of the Miami-Dade Police Department. I started in patrol and worked my way up the ranks, officer, detective, sergeant, lieutenant, police major, police chief, and my current assignment, which is assistant director. Currently, I oversee investigative services, which has such bureaus such as homicide, robbery, cyber, homeland security, warrants, the municipalities. I have dedicated my entire life, my profession, to law enforcement. I always knew I wanted to be in law enforcement. During my career with the Miami-Dade Police Department, the only department I've ever worked for, I worked in such assignments as Northside District as an officer. I worked Robbery Intervention Detail. I worked Internal Affairs, Personnel Management Bureau, Economic Crimes Task Force. I was a homicide detective for 5 years. I ran the Intercoastal District as a major, as well as the Robbery Bureau as a major for almost 5 years. I say this to say that my experience within the Miami-Dade Police Department is extensive. I have a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. I have my master's degree from FIU in public administration certification in human resources. As part of my career enhancement, I graduated the FBI National Academy top 1% of all law enforcement for leadership. I graduated in 2016 and remain active. I am a member of the Florida Alumni the Board and will be sworn in as its president in August. That allows me the opportunity to stay connected at a national level with my peers, best practices, resources, and training to understand the pulse of law enforcement at a national level, and obviously to be able to utilize some of those and learn best practices to bring it here to our department. I've been the leader of the internal transition team for almost 2 years now, preparing our department for this transition to sheriff. I decided to run for sheriff because I feel it is ultimately extremely important that we transition this department to the office of sheriff by someone who understands at the executive level of policing what needs to be done, someone who has the capacity, the ability, the skills, and the relationships, someone who has been at the level of a police executive within the Miami-Dade Police Department in order to be able to make this transition safely, securely, to ensure that, because it's not just a name change, right? It is contracts, benefits, people's lives, employees. And this change is important because if this isn't done safely, then our community could suffer. We are also setting the tone for the next 10 to 15, 20 years of our community. This professional office needs to continue. Unfortunately, it's a partisan race. I wish it weren't, because I think law enforcement shouldn't be, but yet here we are. I have been a part of this community for 28 years. It is of the utmost importance to me that we continue this transition by someone internal who understands our department, who understands our community, and understands where we came from so that we can continue on our path. In regards to what I would see for our office of the sheriff, first and foremost is it is an independent office of the constitutional office where we are going to be allowed that voice. That voice is important because we answer to our community, prioritizing safety, order, law, and what is wanted by our community first, without the levels of bureaucracy that we answer to now. What we hear from our community is important, right? So what I hear when I speak to our community is we hear corruption. So creating the unit of corruption will be at the top of my priority, as well as addressing traffic in this county, which people have forgotten that there are traffic laws that need to be enforced. And that's going to come through presence. presence of uniformed officers back on the streets. And we'll talk about using the resources we have currently now, reassessing what we currently have, and in the meantime, analyzing our department and how we can best
We'll see. Mary
increase
Bruce
our
will be
officers for the future.
the team. Thank you, Mary. This is Thursday night.
sorry.
You can watch the
I
CNN
don't know if
presidential
anyone else
debate.
can hear that.
Wait.
Someone else talking?
Jim, can you mute him out, Jim? Hold it 1 second. Jim, can you get him out?
Yeah, I'm working on it. Bunch of
Okay,
people
keep
jumped
going,
in real
Rosa.
quick.
Sorry.
No problem.
We're good.
And my third pillar is a mental wellness / response to health calls. Mental wellness for our officers. Ensure training and support is there so they can be the best officers to provide service to our community. And when we're responding to calls, mental illness calls, that we're responding in the best possible way that we can. We have a program now where we have a co-responder model. It is working very well. I'd like to see that program develop and expand.
Okay, terrific. So my first question to you is, I don't own a gun. Everybody says, or most of my friends say you should have a gun, that there's no way the police can protect you. You need to take care of yourself. So if I do all the training that's necessary, do you believe in Dade County in the year 2024 that you would recommend that every homeowner should be trained and have a gun in their home to take care of themselves?
I believe that every individual has to make that decision for themselves. I know that my sister who grew up in the same house as I did, absolutely wants nothing to do with a gun. And I was always okay with guns. So I think it is a very personal choice. So as the wonderful thing about this country is the opportunity and the ability to make those kind of decisions. However, I do believe that as the office of the sheriff, I would afford the opportunity for citizens to be able to learn on how to properly handle a weapon. I know that the laws have changed. However, there are many organizations that would allow for that to work with the office of the sheriff, because I do believe that we can be responsible gun owners, and we should be responsible gun owners. We don't give children who just learn how to drive a Ferrari to drive, right? And that is basically the same principle. We should have some rules, basic rules on how to handle a weapon if you're going to have one in your possession.
To follow up on that, you didn't quite answer the question. You explained the logic behind it. If somebody asked me, should you brush your teeth twice a day? I would recommend it. I wouldn't say, yes, you've got a personal choice. I would say, yes, I recommend it. Do you recommend people have a gun in their home?
Well, my answer was, I don't believe every person feels comfortable with a gun. So if you do not feel comfortable with a gun, then my answer to that person is they should not have a gun in their home. So my answer would be that every home should not have a gun if you do not feel comfortable with a gun.
Okay, to the board, any questions?
I do. Ms.
Yes.
Cordero, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Everything that you have said makes me believe that you feel that no one is above the law. Yet you took the endorsement and put his picture and everything on your website of Donald Trump. You are the only sheriff that was endorsed by Donald Trump, a man who's going to receive his conviction July 11th over being guilty of 34 felonies. He was guilty of sexually assaulting a woman. You said you're going to set up a department of corruption. This man in New York was found guilty of close to $500 million of fraud. He is waiting for trials that are coming up for
Don,
an
we're
insurrection.
running out of time. Get the question. Get to the question.
And so my question is, how do you square the fact, also you live in Broward County, from what I understand, how do you square the fact that you're running for this office, okay, with the Department of Corruption, with no one being above the law, and you accepted this felon's endorsement?
My endorsement of President Trump was in regards to his service as our president of our country, where during a time where we as a country benefited from a feeling of economic prosperity, of where we felt safe, where we were definitely moving forward as a nation. And that is what I accepted as his endorsement. In regards to what occurred in his trial, there were many things that from a procedural point of view, I, as a law enforcement person, have a lot of concerns about. And that is something that I'm hoping that someone will address in the near future. That is where I stand on that matter. In regards to myself living in Broward County, I do as well do other candidates for sheriff. There is no requirement to live in Miami-Dade County as a sheriff. However, we are actively looking for a home in Miami-Dade County. We moved to Broward when I was a single woman and I could not afford to live in Miami-Dade, as many people understand in regards to the cost of living.
Okay, one more board question. Is there any question there? Board members? Okay. I'm going to ask you the question about the number of police officers. We have 3,225 police officers. I think we should have double that amount. What's your goal to try to get us more officers? Is it important to you?
Well, it definitely is important to me. As I mentioned before, I think that we absolutely need to get more presence of officers, but being fiscally responsible, I think my very first step will be to look at the officers I have on hand and use the resources I have to get more officers on the road with what I have and do an analysis of our department in order to figure out exactly how we can get more officers, then address the Board of County Commissioners with a long-term plan on how to get those officers down the pipeline. As you may realize, officers take up to 2 years to be able to go from hiring to a fully functioning officer, right? So it takes time. We need a long-term resolution. So yes, we need more officers. We need to look at the officers we have to affect those day one, and we need a longer-term plan as well.
Okay, let's move on to, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for
coming.
having me.
Yes, now we go to Ignacio Alvarez. Can you bring him in, Jim?
Here. Hello, Mike. Can you hear me?
Yes, 5 minutes to tell us about yourself, why you want this job, what you're going to do, your whole story.
Good evening, Mike. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. My name is Ignacio Alvarez, and I'm a Republican candidate for sheriff. One of the first questions everybody asks me is, why am I doing this? As a matter of fact, I saw the Politico Cortadito story this morning with Elaine asking, why am I not running for state attorney? Because I'm an attorney. The answer is simple. I'm not doing this to be a politician. I'm not doing this because I want to be an elected official. I'm doing this because this is the first time the community is going to pick a sheriff in over 60 years, and we need to get this right. Whoever our next sheriff is going to affect us for the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years because we're establishing a brand new entity. And it's important for me that we do this, which is why I'm running for sheriff. Now, this is a community that I've lived in all my life, Miami-Dade County. I grew up in Miami-Dade County. I went to Belen Jesuit School, which taught me a lot about being meant for others, about service to the community, which is why I became a cop at 21 years old. And for me, qualifications do matter. I was a police officer in the North End working investigations. I got promoted to sergeant. I ran investigations. I got promoted to lieutenant. I was in the training bureau in communications. I got promoted to captain, immediately promoted to major, and I was a major for 8 years. And when you look at the sheriff's offices, I ran the district. I ran the town of Miami Lakes. I ran court services and warrant section. I ran special victims bureau. I ran the different areas, the administrative side, I ran the investigative side, and I ran the policing side as a commander in an executive position. So when, Mike, you talk about 3,225 officers, that's a big concern for me for the simple reason that in 2008, we had 3,200 officers. So what have we gained 25 cops since 2008? That's absolutely unacceptable, and we need to do better. Now, education also matters. One of the things that I realized early on in my career is I needed to go back to school. And while I worked full time and I raised my family in Miami-Dade County, I went back to FIU. I got my bachelor's degree. I got my master's degree. And I got my law degree.
Bye.
After 25 years, I honorably retired after being, my last assignment was being a major for special victims. And I opened up my own business in Coral Gables, my own law firm. And today, 7 years later, we're growing year over year and we have over 14 members to the firm. And why is this important to me? Because I'm running a successful business and I'm a practicing attorney. This job as sheriff is now my next goal, my next stepping stone. I'm running for sheriff because we need to get someone who not only knows the department, knows the community, but someone who has stepped out and owes no one favors, but ran a business and practice the other side of the law. When we look at what we're facing a brand new entity. This is going to be a very complex transition from the Miami-Dade Police Department to the Miami-Dade Sheriff's Office, transferring leases, transferring contracts, transferring vendors. We need someone that not only has executive level experience, but someone who's a practicing attorney who does this type of work day in and day out to make sure that it's done correctly. Now, for all the reasons I mentioned, is the reason why the Fraternal Order of Police has endorsed me. The largest police union in Miami-Dade County, with over 25,000 police officers and retired officers, has endorsed my candidacy for sheriff as the best qualified person to be our next sheriff. Now, one of the things that I have done, which I have enjoyed in this campaign, is traveling throughout the county and listening to all the different communities. I'm glad I'm here today to listen to your questions, but I've had the opportunity to travel north, middle, and south and listen, learn from them, and that's the only way we're going to be able to lead. And a lot of the things that I hear is what Mike is talking about is that we need more officers on the streets. Why do we have 5 assistant directors and 8 division chiefs? Why? When we have only increased by 50 officers since 2008. We need to eliminate the bureaucracy. We need to eliminate all the chiefs that we have running the department and put those people back on the road. Because the biggest issues I hear, especially from people from Kendall, is why does it take hours and hours for cops to come to my house when I call them? Why is it when I get involved in a simple car accident, it took 3 hours for them to come? Why is it that there was a fire in my house in the unincorporated area right next to Coral Gables in Ponce Davis, and it took over 20 minutes for a cop and a firefighter to get there? That's unacceptable. And we should expect more from our police department. And we need to not have a plan like a lot of people have. We need someone who's done the job, someone who understands the job, and someone who understands that we need to get away from this bureaucracy, put more cops in the street so they can be visible, and more cops in investigations to solve what the crimes that are going on. I ran a district for the Northwest District for 4 years. Every single year, we dropped crime by over 25%. How? Because this is a community effort. I made it a fact. I made it a big priority of mine to learn who the community leaders are, the business leaders are, the churches leaders are, the political leaders are. We need to work to resolve the crime. We need to get the community to be involved and know what's going on in the neighborhoods. We need to get the businesses to help out. For example, I work with businesses now that are funding schools for kids with autism after they get out of school when their parents are still working, or working with Walmart and Publix to donate turkeys for needy families, or donate books and crayons for needing kids when they start school. And creating that trust with the community is how we solve our problems. We need to prioritize the safety and the well-being. That's called the law and order agenda, which is what I do. I believe that our department should be the best trained and the best paid. That's how we're going to continue recruiting our best officers. We need to bring the business experience that I have and find the efficiencies. And you're going to hear a lot from candidates tonight saying, day one, I'm going to create this squad. Day two, I'm going to create that squad. I'm going to tell you, day one, what I'm going to do is find efficiencies so we can put more officers on the street. That's where the priority needs to start.
Yeah, we're going to start with the questions now. Thank you for all that. First question I have is there anything you can do, anything we can do to prevent any types of mass shootings to happen in Miami-Dade County? Or is it just, that's the way of the world, there's nothing we can do about it, we get lucky or we don't get lucky, and that's it? There's nothing that we can do. Is that your thinking or not?
Yeah, absolutely not, Mike. We need to do more as a community. I think the number one issue we have is we don't have enough health care for mental illness in Miami-Dade County. But that's outside of the police world. In the police world, we need to make sure that we're the best trained police officers out there and practicing every single day as if something's going to happen that day. So if and when something happens, we can respond immediately and save lives. And the only way we're going to do that is by having officers on the street. Why is it that you can go step outside in your street right now, Mike, or go to your neighborhood and just sit on the corner and see how many cops drive by? How many cops are interacting with you? How many cops are interacting with the businesses? We need to put more cops on the street, and we need to put more cops trained to address this. Now, I'll give you a perfect example, Mike. When I was in court services, every quarter we trained for potential shooting in the courts. When I was the district commander, every quarter we trained for something. For example, the last training I did was a plane crash in Opelika Airport, which was under my jurisdiction. And we planned it as if nobody knew that it was a training exercise. And we just dispatched it out to see where our deficiencies are. That's how we ensure that we protect our citizens.
Okay, to the board, questions?
I see that there's a question about corrections. They just came online.
Okay, let's ask that question.
I am the only candidate that's out there actively recommending that corrections in the police.
What's that again? But answer that question again.
I am the
Jim,
only
can you-
candidate. I'm the only candidate that's been actively pushing for corrections to be under the sheriff. Why? If we're gonna have a law and order sheriff like I'm going to be, and we're gonna lock the criminals away, we need that same mentality in corrections to keep them inside corrections. Now, merging corrections with the Miami-Dade Police Department is gonna increase our employees to about 6,500 employees and give us a $1.5 billion budget. This is gonna be the second largest sheriff's office in the United States. This is a big organization, and we need someone who knows the department, who knows the community, who's been a practicing attorney. They can come in and run this department. We cannot have outsiders. We cannot have police officers or sergeants or lieutenants. We need people with executive experience, business experience, and attorney experience to run this huge organization.
And then on day one, if you were to come in, how does the transition happen from where we have a major to we have a sheriff? Does it just switch in one day, or how does that work?
The new statute they created, the sheriff's office gives us a 3-year transition to handle the transfer.
1 year?
3 years, 3 years transition.
3 years transition.
3-year transitions is important, Mike, because it's not as simple as creating new leases or finding new vendors. It's gonna take time to do this transition, and we need to do it right. The union contract with the employees, what buildings are we gonna take over? What vendors are we gonna keep? What cars are we gonna keep? How are we gonna do payroll? Something simple payroll. We're creating a brand new entity with brand new bank accounts and brand new responsibilities. We need somebody who's qualified to do this.
So who's the boss on day one? If you win the election, is Stephanie's the boss? Or you're the boss?
I'm the boss. I don't need a number 2, Mike. I can be sheriff day one and run this department and run it to what you want it to be and what you deserve it to be.
Okay, thank you for the questions. Thank you for everything.
My name is Ignacio Alvarez, everybody. Please on Instagram, Ignacio Alvarez for Sheriff, or my website, ignacioalvarezforsheriff.com. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. Next, bring in Jose Aragu. Jose, you're here?
Yes, I'm here. Good evening, Mike, and
Okay.
good evening to everyone.
5 minutes, tell us about yourself, how you're gonna run the sheriff's office, who you are, what your plans are, et cetera, et cetera. We're listening.
Well, good evening, everyone. First and foremost, thank you for the opportunity for being here with you all today. So I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I am currently a major in the Miami-Dade Police Department Midwest District, and I am also a family man. I am happily married to a sergeant on the department, and I have 3 children that are growing up in this community. I am a graduate of the FIU in Emergency and Disaster Management. I am also a graduate of the Harvard Kennedy School of Government and Public Policy, and I am a graduate of the Naval Postgraduate School Executive Leadership course. And I say this because not only is it going to be important day one to be employed by the department, because as we know, police work has evolved in the last several years, but it's also going to be important to have the education to ensure that the transition from a police department to a sheriff's office goes as seamlessly as possible, because there are going to be challenges. Currently, as the major of the Midwest District, I lead Miami-Dade County in crime reduction. And that's something that I'm very proud of, because it's me as the leader, but it's the officers that are doing the heavy lifting day in and day out to ensure that my district is the safest in Miami-Dade County. Now, when I decided that I wanted to run to be your next sheriff, I put together a platform, and it was based on current needs that we have in our community. It wasn't politics because I'm not a politician. It was the essential needs of the safety of Miami-Dade County. And I'll tell you what those are. The first, school safety, which is very important to me. Currently, the Miami-Dade School Board Police Department has, give or take, 300 police officers, and we have over 580 schools in our community. School safety is at the forefront because most of our gun violence in Miami-Dade County today is being committed by juveniles between the ages of 14 and 17 years of age. And that's a true statistic. It is very worrisome that these kids can and have introduced firearms into school settings, but it's something that we routinely don't talk about. Now, in regards to society and children, are we educating them? Are we providing a DARE program, a great program that was offered to these kids in the past so they know what a drug is, not to take drugs, what being a leader is, which is very important at the early stages in middle school for a child. So we definitely have to do our part as a sheriff's office to bring those services back, because if we have a healthy child growing up, we have less problems later as a society. My second point is crime prevention and intervention. Today, we're currently a very reactive police department, and we need to be proactive. How are we proactive? Currently, we almost have the same number of detectives that we have as road officers in our community. If you call a non-emergency line today to have services respond to your residence or to a call for service, a citizen is waiting between 20 to 28 minutes for that officer to arrive. But what's very worrisome is when you call the police on an emergency call and the average response time is 7 minutes in Miami-Dade County. That is unacceptable. In many situations, rescue is arriving before police, and it should be the other way around to ensure the safety of fire rescue and the citizens that we're responding to render aid to. So more police officers on our roads, more marked police units creates deterrence, which is what we need in our community. Proactive policing, generating good patrol techniques to include community policing to be able to have that dialogue with the police department. Let's talk a little bit about crime as it relates to juveniles, as I mentioned already. Juveniles are committing many crimes in our community today, and we need to provide additional services. Traffic. Traffic is a huge point of contention with our residents, and the reality is that we've lost total control of traffic. I don't know if everyone on this Zoom has seen the motor scooters all over Miami-Dade County. There's no accountability. They're a major risk to the drivers and to individuals that are even walking our streets because they're in these scooters everywhere. Traffic enforcement needs to be at the forefront of the sheriff's office.
I've gotta stop you for questions.
Sure.
So we can get you a couple questions. So one of my concerns is I had four wheels stolen from my car, and basically I got a little card that wrote down the crime number. And so the police tell me that the challenge of making these arrests, when you rarely can make an arrest, then the problem becomes with the state attorney, and the citizens don't go to report the crimes, and the criminals get off, and it seems like it's just going to be an endless cycle of crimes. how do you get more people to be involved and go to court and fight with you to solve the crimes? How are you going to do that?
Well, it's extremely important to let the victim know and understand that if there's no victim, there's no crime. Okay. And what I mean by that is, in a drug arrest, for example, the victim is the state of Florida and the individual is represented by the witness, which is the officer, in addition to the state attorney's office. But in the case where there's a victim, if they don't move forward and they don't go to the state attorney's office and they don't follow up and go to court, unfortunately, these cases are dropped. And a lot of this has to do with education. We need to educate the public. And it's extremely important, if we do our part as the sheriff's department, to educate and people understand the ramifications of not reporting crimes, that they will begin to report crimes. And I think we can do a better job at keeping our citizens involved, not only of the great things that we do as a police department, but the things that we can do better. And that is transparency.
Okay. From the board, any questions? From the board? Okay, let me ask you just quickly, one of my questions that are important to me are about owning a gun. I don't own a gun. Do you think people like me that just don't own guns, we could obviously learn how to be trained how to handle a gun, but do you think I need a gun for my personal safety living in Miami-Dade County?
Look, I support the Second Amendment. Now, I will tell you what I do not support, and I am Republican, but I have no problems taking a stand for something that we should stand for. This law that Governor DeSantis passed, that there's permitless carry of firearms in Miami-Dade County, is ludicrous, to say the least. And I'll tell you why. Having a permit is not just the mere fact of having a permit. Having a permit tells me as a law enforcement officer and the community that the person that has the firearm, number one, knows the law of when they can use the firearm or not. And number two, and the very important piece, right, being number two, is that they know how to handle the firearm. And all we've done is create more accessibility to weapons, which again, I support the Second Amendment, but more accessibility with individuals that do not know when they can use it, when they cannot use it, and most importantly, how to use a firearm. I think this law is very controversial and it's affecting us dearly. We see in our community every day that there's a shooting, and we need to do something about this.
Have you written the governor and expressed your concern about what you just told us? Have you told him?
I have been expressing my concerns since day one in the campaign. I've written the governor and I've requested to meet with the governor, and I'm waiting to hear back from his office. But I assure you that if I'm elected your sheriff, I will have an active voice, and we need to have this overturned because it's the safety of our families, our children, and our community.
Okay, thank you. We've got to move on. Thank you so much for your time. We got to know you very well. And we have Mr. Barrow coming on.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Jim, are you bringing? Oh,
He's on.
Jim.
He's on.
I'm
Okay.
here.
Okay, great. Hello, how are you?
Good evening. How are you doing?
So, take 5 minutes, please, to tell us who you are, about yourself, what you plan to do with this office, and we're all ready to listen.
All right. Good evening. Thank you for having me, and thank you for this forum. My name is John Barrow. I'm a Miami native, born and raised in Miami Gardens. And, as a kid growing up in Miami Gardens, we were a close-knit community, but we were also affected by crime. I was a victim of crime. My family was, our neighbors. We did not want that crime in our neighborhoods. And when we called for help, it was the Miami-Dade police who responded. And I remember the way I felt that my needs were going to be taken care of, that day, the worst day in your life was going to be all right. And that stayed with me. When I came back home from college with my bachelor's degree, I joined the Miami-Dade Police Department, and I've had the pleasure to serve this community, the community of Miami-Dade, for the past 18 years. I started from the ground up as a beat cop and was promoted through every civil service rank, sergeant, lieutenant, and captain. I was appointed major in 2020. This is testament to my grit, my ability to overcome obstacles and get the job done. I love this community. I love our agency and our people. And for that reason, I decided to run for Miami-Dade County Sheriff. This is a very important position, as we all know. It's the first time that we're going to have this office in over 60 years. And I'm running to, first of all, ensure a safe community. The safety of everyone is my top priority. My second priority is to challenge the status quo here in Miami-Dade and in Tallahassee to bring new solutions to our communities and to our crime problems. And thirdly, I want to build a sheriff's office that is deeply ingrained and community rooted in the community with civilian oversight and civilian input in how we run this department. To break down those goals a little, the new solutions would include a new unit based with mental health clinicians to respond to mental health calls, homelessness, and addiction, to ensure that we lower recidivism by having vocational and educational programs in the jails, as well as reentry programs that assist incarcerated persons as they're coming back into the community so that they do not commit crimes again, but they have a level where they can be productive citizens. And I want to ensure that our department is a part of this community, not just going in there and telling people what to do, but I've worked so many different areas, from down south to up north, from hammocks to north side, and I'm now the major of our human resources department. And what I've noticed is each community has unique problems, and you need to meet with the people that live there to come up with solutions. We, the police alone, cannot do it. So I also want to have a community advisory council made up of residents of this county who meet with me as sheriff as we're developing police policy and police procedures, so that that's that part of that community oversight, so the community is involved in these decisions. And I want to ensure that that we also work with our local nonprofits and NGOs through our budget process, through resource sharing, through offering grants to these organizations that are trying to do good in the community so that they can assist in public safety. Having grown up, like I said, in Miami Gardens, it was Carroll City at the time. I understand what really public safety is, and I understand what it is to be a victim, and that's why I became a police officer, to help victims. And we want to ensure that everyone who can live safely and happily here in Miami-Dade County. And so that's why I'm running, and I ask for your support and your vote.
Well, thank you very much. One of our visitors watching, we wanted to know about mass shootings, and are we just going to be a victim of a mass shooting one day? We're going to go to Publix and just going to, I'm not really sure what you can do to prevent it except get the police there fast. But is there anything, should we carry guns when we go to the grocery store? What's your advice for us citizens?
Well, first, from the sheriff's office perspective, training is what we're going to do to ensure that we are ready and equipped to address any incident that occurs in Miami-Dade County, including from natural disasters to man-made and mass casualty events. We have to ensure our deputies, soon-to-be deputies, are trained in what to do and how to go after that threat and ensure the safety of the community. And then your question about guns. So, I believe there is a constitution in the United States that we have to support, and there is a Second Amendment. There's also a First Amendment, which people tend to forget about, the right for, to have your self-expression and the freedom of press and freedom of speech. But, the Second Amendment also takes precedence. However, owning a gun that's an individual decision to be made by individuals. I believe as the sheriff, I will ensure that we have training available to the public, anyone who wants to own a gun, that we ensure that they understand the basic gun safety. But I'm also a proponent of sensible gun safety measures and laws, which the majority of people, no matter what their party is, believe in, like closing the gun control loophole, not having, selling high-powered rifles. But that's a legislative issue. As sheriff, I will have an ability to lobby. The sheriff's office will have the ability to lobby directly Tallahassee to try to get these laws passed. But until that time, we have to hone our own safety. And for the community, like I said, that's an individual responsibility. That's an individual decision to make. And I wouldn't want the government coming to anyone's house telling them what they should or should not do as it relates to owning guns. That is a personal decision you have to make. Obviously, as a law enforcement officer, I own guns in my house. So, but that's up to the individuals. And as sheriff, I'll just ensure that if you decide to own a gun, that we'll have classes where we can train you to use those guns safely and effectively.
Okay. Now, I also seems like that the word freeway to explain our expressways is truly a freeway. If I'm not driving 80, I'm the slowest car on the road, and I see police cars driving 80, following people and just driving like normal. Are we just supposed to give up when it comes to our roads, and you got to be doing 120 before you get caught? What's the story in your mind that you're going to do to make these roads where the speed limit is safe?
As a cop, I was a big into traffic. I was always assigned the traffic details. I started my career down in Hammocks in West Kendall, and became the major of Hammocks as well too. So that was a sort of bookends, rookie there and then the major there. And I can tell you from every part of the county, every place I've been, a big complaint is traffic from our citizens, and I believe that is true as well. There are certain cities that you drive through that you don't speed because those officers are out there pulling cars over and ensuring our drivers are educated about our speeding laws, our traffic laws. Miami Shores, Biscayne Park. There are cities that that they're there. So what we need as a sheriff's office, I want to increase our traffic enforcement unit and create a aggressive driver traffic enforcement unit, because we have our motorcycle units that do traffic, but I also want marked vehicles, both marked and unmarked vehicles, to try to address all of the traffic concerns that we have here in the county, and that's something that I will bring. So one of the things is that that is we're gonna get these cops from. That's a question that's gonna come that will be asked, and that is, we have a lot of people in back office functions. We have a lot of units that have been created, 25 specialized units, and even more have been created in the last 3 years. And as sheriff, on day one, I want to go through all of these units and see which ones are meeting the goals and objectives of not only the agency but of the community. And those that aren't, we can reposition those officers, lieutenants, sergeants back onto our road, into our district, so that we have more people that can respond to calls, to lower call time, to increase officer safety, and to give cops some downtime to get out their cars and try to meet the community that they serve.
Okay, thank you very much. And we are going to move on. Thank you for your time. Thank you for joining us. And next, we should have Mr. De La Rua is there.
Hey, good evening. Good evening. Mike, I knew you got a little scared about the first name. It's Ruben De La Rua. How's everybody doing?
Ruben, like Ruben, but Ruben.
It's like Truman without the T.
Oh, that's even better.
Yeah, it's easy. It's easy. First of all, I'd like to thank God for this opportunity to be before you and get the story straight on educating the public on what I'm bringing, so there will be no mistake. I always start with my faith, and we have to bring back the faith into our communities and also with our sheriff's office, which we have lost touch with. Whatever religion you are faithful to is what we need to bring to our families, to our work, to our everyday life. The other thing is I'm a family man. You know, I'm a father, a husband, and a grandfather. And that's something that will always be true to me because I live here in Miami-Dade County, you know, and everything that I see, you know, it affects not only me, but everybody else. And the other strong point is the Constitution. I'm a constitutional sheriff where I believe not only is it law and order that we have to adhere to, but it's also, you know, the First Amendment has a couple of components, and the component I'm referring to is the right to grievance your government. So if our government, and I'm the sheriff, the chief executive law enforcement of this county, if the communities are having an issue with something that is going on in their community, I will also stand for them and be their voice. And that's the Constitution part of my platform. To start, you know, I have 42 years of law enforcement experience, and I'll repeat it. I got 42 years of law enforcement experience, starting since 1978 here in this county with the city of Miami as a young 14-year-old in uniform, learning how to respect our community, how to treat our community the right way at 14 years old. As I moved through the paying career, the city of Miami hired me, paying me in 1982, where I became a public service aide, again, promoting our quality of life and being involved with our communities and listening to our communities back then. In 84, I became a police officer for the city of Miami, where I was assigned to the street and where we worked also directed patrol, again, dealing with the community. I've always been a community first approach type of officer. And till this day, I'm the same. I'm no different. In 1980s, there was a lot of the boat lift. Not only the boat lifts came, the Haitian community came to our land. There was a lot of drugs being introduced to Miami-Dade County. So it was a rough time, which has given me the experience to deal with what's going on in today's society, along with being, you know, the having corrupted police officers. All that we dealt with in 1980, we're dealing with now. I left here in 1987, and I moved to Marion County, Florida, which is Central Florida, which is the 5th largest county in Florida. When I joined the Marion County Sheriff's Office, and this is what puts me apart from any other candidate. It's that I've actually done 26 years under the sheriff's office culture, which none of the candidates have ever experienced or lived in making decisions, not only for the department, but for the community. I rose through the ranks working the streets. I've been in administration, making rules, policies, approving and disapproving systems that would be in the best interest of our citizens, because putting citizens first is a priority in the sheriff's office culture. You know, saving money, you know, dealing with budgets was a big influence that I had working with the sheriff's office. I also worked the court services, not only protecting the judges, but also serving injunctions and also apprehending subjects that were wanted on in warrants. I also had the ability to work in the jail system on the intake and also on the training aspect of the inmates. I've worked the community. I've also worked in the school system. I was a commander for the school system in Marion County, and the programs that we had there our priorities were the safety of our children, of our teachers, and of our parents. And I was very happy that everything that I've implemented and worked with the school board up there was able to help in today's programming that they have, that I tend to bring it down to Miami-Dade County.
All right, at this point now we've got the remainder of the time to ask a couple questions. So I wanted to follow up on the question I've asked about people being able to own a gun. So it seems like, okay, if you want to have a gun, you can have your gun, do it responsible. It's the Constitution. It seems like to me, we're surely having a lot of domestic shootings. We're seeing the husbands shoot the wife, shoots the children. There's so many I can't even remember them anymore, and that's just in a week. So, what are you going to do as sheriff? Is there anything you can do besides sending your office overs to write up the report? What can you do about that?
Well, again, we are reactive. The leaders that have been in decades here in Miami-Dade County has allowed for the public to suffer because of their lack of leadership and lack of knowledge on how to be a leader, where the criminal element has surpassed the quality of life. So knowing the Constitution, everybody has the rights to have a firearm. And it's my position to make sure that those that are legally carrying with or without a permit have the education that I would offer through the sheriff's office for them to better be aware on how to handle a firearm.
Yeah,
On
but
the
that's not
question
happening.
you asked,
That's not happening. The people are shooting their own families.
yeah, but the thing is that the criminals are not playing by our rules. And if we start or proactive instead of reactive, we're going to curb that down, Mike. It's just right now, everybody knows that they can get away with a crime. And whether it's a legal gun or illegal gun, when they're going to commit a crime, they're not playing by our rules. So what we need to do is we need to enforce the laws, and we need to hold people accountable. And we as a sheriff, me as a sheriff, need to be transparent with the public and letting them know that what's right is right and wrong is wrong. So I go back to the having the police be reactive than proactive is the issue that we're having. But once you start seeing the proactive and that we have somebody in office that does care and does work with the Board of Commissioners, does work with the state attorneys to make sure we have enough state attorneys to prosecute cases, things are going to turn around. This is like over 40 years of the way Miami-Dade County has turned out to be. I'm the only one from the outside. I'm the only one with the sheriff's office culture background on the street. One of my things that I plan on definitely making a difference is the quality of life we have here in Miami-Dade County. In your neighborhood, the traffic jams it's out of control by using smart technology, putting committee members from each community to sit at the table where I sit and make decisions on how we can better the traffic flow in our county, the quality of life. The HOA, a lot of people have issues with. They're making so many laws about this and that. Let me make it clear. HOA is an association I belong to, which I'm as much of a victim as anybody else. But when it comes to them criminally doing criminal activity, I, as the sheriff, have a duty to protect our citizens and our civil liberties. I don't need a special law to go after the HOA. It's basically the law of fraud or whatever criminal charge they did for me and our deputies to make the arrest and for me to stay up on the state attorneys to make sure they prosecute those charges. Fraud is fraud, burglary is burglary, and squatting is squatting. The elderly, we don't have elderly programs here to help the elderly that have given their life for this community that they've been overlooked. I have a juvenile program. I'm a member of the Florida Sheriff's Association. I was the president of the Fraternal Order of Police. I pledged to donate $100,000 of my salary to start the program of the Florida Youth Ranch, which is a valuable tool that the Sheriff's Office Association has for our community. A community first approach is what I want. I want to make sure that every deputy knows every residence that they patrol their communities. And I want the same, that our residents are safe and protected and know that when they see the star car, that our deputies are well educated on the Constitution and on how to protect their civil liberties. And in turn, I want the citizens to know that the Constitution themselves, so they know that I am their voice. I'm the people's sheriff.
Listen, thank you very much. We got to know you. We got to know you're Truman without a T. And we thank you for coming tonight. And just to the audience, we were supposed to have a break, but luckily, trying to stay on time is very difficult. So the break is not going to be a break, which puts us up to 7:50, which is Alexander Fournette. But Alexander Fournette decided he couldn't attend. So we're going to bring last, which is Joe Martinez, to come in now at 7:50 to keep us moving right on the marathon. So, Jim, can you bring in Joe Martinez? Joe.
Hey, sir, how are you?
Good. Welcome to the forum. And so the first five, I don't know if you've been watching or not, but the first 5 minutes is all about you. Who are you? How you're going to run things differently? How you're going to run things the same? Where'd you come from? Who are you? You get 5 minutes, and then I'm going to stop you, and we start with questions. So go, take it.
Perfect. And I will not take 5 minutes. Look, I want to thank the board, yourself and the board, for taking the time to interview the candidates. It's extremely important. This is a very, very important race for Miami-Dade County and the residents. My name is Joe Martinez. I was born and raised in Miami, Florida. I am married. I have 5 children, ranging in ages from 21 or close to 21 to now, you know what? I better not say my other oldest daughter's ages because they'll be upset. So, but older than that. Born and raised here in Miami, went to school here. I entered the law enforcement career in 1984.
Dude, the only thing I can say is everybody at the courthouse, I go,
Hang on,
hey,
Jim, get him out. Okay, sorry.
No, it's okay. Continue.
Yep, keep going.
Okay, so like I said, I don't know how much was cut out, but I started my law enforcement career in 1984. I rose through the ranks: patrolman, field training officer, sergeant, master sergeant, where I did all the manpower allocations and budgeting for a station. At the time, way back then in 1996, it was a mere $18 million. I then rose to the rank of lieutenant, at which time I took a leave of absence and I ran for county commissioner in 2000. It's extremely important. This job isn't only about law enforcement. It is not only about a career, which I had a highly decorated career. I received 2 gold medals of valor, a silver medal of valor, exceptional service, and numerous commendations. Named officer of the year twice by the HPOA and once by the PBA. I enjoyed it. Being a police officer is not what I did. It's who I was, who I am. My kids will tell you the only job that dad will do for free, if he could, which we can't, would have been to stay as a police officer. So I ran for commissioner in 2000. I was elected 5 times in 2000, 2004, 2008. I ran for mayor in 2012, was not successful. And then I ran for commissioner again in 16 and 20. It's important because this first few years of the police department, that conversion, the transition from a appointed director to an elected sheriff is extremely crucial. Lots of negotiations go on between November and January with the administration as well as with the county commissioners. And it's important that you have that knowledge in politics and know how to handle the beast, if you want to call it, of Miami-Dade County government. Michael, you know it. You've been down there quite a few times. It's important to know that, to be able to negotiate, to be able to ensure the safety of the residents. That's a unique experience that I have. So it's a law enforcement background as well as the political know-how to be able to do this. And Michael, that's enough time talking about myself. I never liked doing it, so I'm open to any questions any of you may have.
Okay, one of the questions that came up was all the domestic shootings that are happening right now. I know that you're a believer that people should have guns and guns in their homes, and so we have guns and we have guns in our homes, and we have so many domestic shootings, I can't even keep track of them anymore. So are we just supposed to live with that? That's the consequence of having guns in our homes. We're just going to live with that?
Michael, it's not that. Guns aren't what kills people, it's people. It's human nature. People kill for money, for revenge, for greed. And in the domestic incidences, it's low or lack of. Domestic situations are very, very hard to be able to prevent. Now, education is key. And that comes from different areas. When the first time somebody calls the police and, for a domestic disturb, and everything changed with O.J. Simpson. Way back before that, we would just go separate the people. Okay, you leave, you go, that's it. It has totally changed now to be able to prevent it. So when police are called to a domestic, you are going into somebody's castle, and you must be respectful of that. And once you get there, you can assess the situation and find out, okay, this is the intervention that we need. This is how we should do it. Now, you're talking about guns. Having a gun in a home isn't what causes shootings in a home. It is a weapon, same as a knife, same as a hammer, a blunt instrument. So no, having a weapon in a home, I don't have a problem with that.
We have 3,225 sworn officers in Miami-Dade County. And in the past, I've asked several majors in the hammocks and in Kendall, do you have enough officers? And they'll never give you the answer. They just say we do. Yeah, they just say we do the best we can with what we have. Can you say right now that we don't have enough? We just don't have enough. Do you want more?
Oh, absolutely. They can't. I think if we look at the commander's report, which is the amount of personnel you have assigned per shift, per squad, and everything, you'll find a very close number to what we had more than 10 years ago. It may be almost exactly the same number, and population has doubled in 20 years. So we do not have enough. I'm sorry, am I talking over somebody? Michael, may I continue? Well, I don't see him there.
Yeah,
So
go ahead. Go ahead, Joe.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. The difference between an elected sheriff and an appointed sheriff is an appointed sheriff responds to the administration. If the administration has other views and tell them this is your budget and you'll make do with it, they will tell you, hey, we're fine with it. We'll make do with what we have. And that is a problem. An elected sheriff does not have to do that. The elected sheriff can go and complain to the commission and tell them, I need more officers. We need to increase the budget. I'm going to change people, put them from one place to another in an attempt to try to comply with your budget. But you'll be able to go ahead and argue for it. Whereas a director now that's appointed has to follow the marching orders, like any good soldier. And you can also go to the people. You can go on radio shows, on TVs, talk to the communities and tell them, look, I need your help. We need more police officers. I know in our district, in District 11, you hardly ever see a patrolman unless he's going from a call to another call. And that has to be changed. So the difference with that is we have almost the same amount of officers that we had 10 or 15 years ago. We need more. We definitely need more.
A tougher question. I don't know if you can answer or want to answer, but there's people messaging me. Can you talk about the trial and how that's impacted your campaign?
It hasn't affected it. What else would you like to know? If you have a pointed question, go ahead and ask it.
I just messages coming in, asking me to ask you if the trials impacted your ability to campaign, how you're campaigning, what you're saying in your campaign. Is there anything you want to say about that?
there's certain things, aspects you can't say. I'll tell you, I've been to court over 30 something times. It's been continued every single time. And today was supposed to start, and once again, it was continued. I can tell you that. I will tell you I am innocent. They know it, we know it. And the people who know me, and even the people who don't, or the people who have read what the charges are, know that there's nothing there. It's been, my youngest daughter was 13 when this started. She's going to be 21. If you have charges, you bring them. And if you don't, you delay it. So for those who have the questions, I'm telling you, I'm innocent. My attorneys know it. I believe even the other side is well aware of that. And I have the backing of my family. I have the backing of my friends. And no, it hasn't affected my campaigning at all.
Okay. Listen, thank you for coming on.
I have a quick question.
Oh, okay, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, hi, and thank you for being here. My question is, we were talking about domestic shootings. There's been, in the last few weeks, a lot of these murders by suicides and domestic shootings. Do you believe that someone who has a restraining order on them should be able to easily go out and own a gun?
No.
Okay.
Okay, but apparently
Well,
that happens, right?
People who have been diagnosed with any type of mental illness. Look, I believe in background checks. I believe in carrying a concealed weapon permit. I believe there should be some type of screening. Yes, you have the right to bear arms, but there are certain people who shouldn't have arms. There's certain people who shouldn't drive. And if you can restrict that, yes, I have no problem with somebody with a restraining order not having access to a weapon.
Thank you.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Joe, thank you.
Hold on, Michael. Hold on.
Okay, we're back?
You're back.
We're back. Okay, Susan Curry, are you there?
I am here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we sure can. So for the
Okay.
first 5 minutes, tell us who you are, about you, why you want to be sheriff, everything you're going to do when you're sheriff. Tell us your story.
Okay. You give us a warning when where time is up.
Well, yes, I'll say stop.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm Susan Corey, and I'm going to start with why I'm running for sheriff. I'm running for sheriff because this is a lifetime opportunity that we can influence changes in law enforcement. We've been waiting for law enforcement reform for years and years and years, generations, and this is an opportunity to do that. And the reason I say that we have that opportunity to do that is because the sheriff comes after no one. You have the ability to put into law and your platform and your creation of a new sheriff. What I want to do is I strongly believe that the 20.
Uh-oh, what happened?
Hold
on.
Susan, hold on a minute.
Okay. Can you?
You're back on. Very good.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. That the 21st century policing reforms made by the recommendations of the President's task force is what I used to create my platform. And the reason I did that is because I truly believe the local government and the local police it's got a lot of issues, including issues that deal with mental health, not just for the community, but for the law enforcement. We had a law enforcement director who attempted suicide, and not one individual has even discussed that. We don't have the administration, we don't have our chief of police's, we don't have anybody talking about that. So all I'm saying is that There are issues that need to be addressed, and this is why I believe I'm the outside candidate that can actually do the reforms. I come from I'm an immigrant. Came to this country. My mom was born in Havana, Cuba. My dad was born in Palestine. I was born in Jerusalem. I went to schooling in Miami-Dade County, elementary school, West Miami Junior High, South Miami Senior High, and Emerson Elementary. I then got my master's and bachelor's from the University of Miami in criminal justice and communications. I also then later on went on and became a federal special agent. I went to the academy with the U.S. Marshals. From there, I went and worked with FEMA nationwide as a special agent 1811 sworn deputy. I was able to go around the nationwide at the time of disasters, do an assessments, work with our local communities in disasters, set up offices from the ground up, set up task forces, and conduct investigations, arrests, search warrants, and nationwide. I then went from there to the nuclear regulatory and worked with them with DOE, Department of Defense. So what I bring to the table is emergency management and homeland security. The things that I believe are essential for our community are taken from the 21st century policing best practices. That is having better ways of hiring, having better ways of training, having better ways of benefits for our officers, having community involvement, and most of all, having accountability. And I strongly believe that we must hold officers accountable for their anything that happens, because that is what the community requires into bringing in trust and bringing in the ability to work as a unit, because we should work together and not against each other. And that's how you gain trust into the community. So that is a brief synopsis of what I bring to the table and what I'm from. So I'm hoping that your questions, I can answer anything you like.
Okay, the board want to start? Anything there? Okay, so let's talk about one of the things we haven't talked about too much is just basic things that happen every day when we drive and we see the speeders on the highway. When I've taken a late airplane and I get into Miami-Dade Airport and I drive home at like 2 in the morning or 1 in the morning, it's open freeway. You can drive whatever you want any night. Nobody knows that but me? What are you going to do as a head of all the police to really make a difference to slow this down?
Well, I really think, Mike, that we must do is work collaboratively with all the municipalities. We, as sheriff, we are going to be responsible for the unincorporated Miami-Dade County. So what I would love to do is have a joint a task force with all the municipalities, come up with a plan because the speeders and your bad people do not know what border lines are. So it's not like they know they're in Miami-Dade, city of Miami, and now so what we need to do is incorporate a type of philosophy of how we treat it. We need to have more officers on the road. But here's the problem I have with pulling people over for speeding is that we are in a catch-22 because most of your issues that come with police brutality and police abuse and police issues have to do with traffic stops. So what we have to do is come up with a plan to handle it with maybe lights, extra cameras, lights, and treat it in that fashion, because we got to eliminate some of those issues, but we have to work collaboratively with municipalities.
Okay, the facts that I read recently about 25% of our robberies being solved and 50% of our murders being solved. Wouldn't you think that current administration, that should be the top of their priority every single day? That if you're a criminal, you know that there's a 75% chance you can rob somebody and get away with it. And I mean, it's pretty much been like that for a long time. So you actually think if you were a sheriff that you're going to make that number go down?
Yes, and I'll tell you how we do it. We do it with working first with the community, because I guarantee you, community people that know, they know who's the people that are committing some of these crimes, and they're not talking because of the trust issues. So we gotta work on getting the trust of the community to work directly with law enforcement. The second one.
Shoot. Hold on, Susan. Susan, hold on, please. You're muted. Susan, you're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Yes.
we got it. Yes. Work with the communities, you said.
Okay. I forgot what. Oh, I know what I
Work
was
with the
saying.
communities.
Yeah, I was saying that there are a lot of different aspects to solving crime. We need to remove some of the issues that police officers, we as a society, give law enforcement all these duties that have nothing to do with fighting crime. When you have a cat in a tree, you call the cops. When you have a dog barking loudly, you call the cops. Well, we have to incorporate some of the city and community and county departments involved into solving some of these issues, and have law enforcement do the job they were hired to do, which is try to enforce the laws and to make sure you and everybody else is safe and secure.
Okay. How do you feel about having the guns in the house? Do you have guns in your house? Should I have guns in my house?
No, I strongly feel that we become a gun worshiping society. Yes, you have a right to have a firearm, but not every person should have a firearm. You should have a firearm if you're trained. You get your driver's license after you learn how to drive. So you got to have safety precautions. We got to have laws. I do not agree with the state law that allows anybody to carry a gun without any registration or anything. I think that's ludicrous. It's not safe. Excuse me. It's not safe for the officers, and it's definitely not safe for the residents. If you do not know how to use a gun, you're more likely to be shot by your own weapon. So I think we need to start looking at this realistically and quit acting like we're in the wild, wild west.
So you're not okay if I get a couple AR-15s?
No, I'm not. And honestly, I like to make sure we register every weapon. I also feel, as a sheriff, I want to lobby against a lot of these laws. I also want to work with different organizations to work with our manufacturers. If we can put a thumbprint to unlock your phone, why can't we put a thumbprint to unlock your weapon? We need to teach people how to secure weapons. We have a society that doesn't even know how to lock their guns. And so safety and security is above all the most important part. And your right to carry, it comes with that, but you also have to have security and safety and learning on how to use this weapon and what to do with it. It is, you can shoot someone, you can hurt someone accidentally, and I don't find it to be safe as the laws stand right now.
Okay, so if people watching have questions, just write it in a text. Okay, any questions on the board here? All right, we're moving on. Thank you very much, Susan.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you all for having us. Bye.
All right, Mario, Knapp, you're up.
Mario, you need to unmute, please.
Sorry about that. You hear me now?
Yeah.
So first of all, thank you for having me. Michael, you do a great job. Every time I go to one of the Kendall Federation meetings, it's a packed house. And this is a good indication that the people here care about this community. So I thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
My name is Mario Knapp. I'm a 27-year veteran of the Miami-Dade Police Department. I am one of only 3 candidates in this race that have held every civil service rank within the department, which means I've been an officer, I've been in the SWAT team, I've been an instructor in the SWAT team, I've been a sergeant in narcotics, among other responsibilities. I've been a lieutenant and commander of the Robbery Intervention Detail, which is Miami-Dade County's most volatile and high-profile violent crime suppression initiative in Dade County. I've been a captain in 5 different responsibilities, including Northside Station and Kendall District, which is where I met you, Michael, years ago. And when I retired, I was the major of the Special Patrol Bureau, where I commanded the SWAT team, the bomb squad, the aviation unit. So that's all the helicopters, all the airplanes, Marine Patrol unit, the boats, the K-9s, the motors, the divers, the incident management team, which is why I was the commander of the Surfside building collapse. I was the operations commander. Today happens to be the 3-year anniversary. So, I wanted to recognize that. And I also managed the Special Events Bureau, which means we were in charge of every large-scale event in Dade County, including every Marlins game, every Dolphins game, the Super Bowl, F1, all of those events when they came down here. One of the things that makes me unique also, I think, it'd be hard for me to recreate my career. I was always in the wrong place at the right time. I was also the subject matter expert for all matters related to any use of force or any application of force by police officers, which means I wrote not only the policies, but the training, and had to either defend those policies or speak in defense of the department or defense of officers, or sometimes against officers if they use too much force. I also wrote all the active shooter and mass casualty attack protocols for Miami-Dade County. So if you talk about school safety, I independently chaired that and put that group together, and it's a national model now today. I served as a consultant all over the country for police chiefs and other trainers, and I received the Hispanic Police Officer Association. I can get a little bit more into that, but I don't want to run out of time. This is the whole purpose behind going back to the sheriff's office is to make the office independent of any political influence. The idea behind this is to have an independently elected sheriff by the people who provides, obviously, public safety. You're going to hear a lot of people talk about, if you hear somebody say that rank is not important, it's because they've never had it. And those that say that rank is everything, it's because they're resting on their laurels. I mean, I think what's important here is to look at not only the responsibilities you've had in an agency, but also the large-scale initiatives that you've managed and what budgets you've run and everything else. I think that's important, because this is going to build the foundation of public safety for the next 20 or 30 years in Miami-Dade County. This is the largest machinery in the Southeast United States, and it's known as the Miami-Dade Police Department, and soon it's going to be the Miami-Dade Sheriff's Office. I think we need somebody that has a balance, and I think I have that, and that's a balance of command experience, administrative experience, and more importantly, operational and policy writing experience. You're going to hear a lot of people talk about the transition, and I know that every single one of us is going to talk to or speak to you in the light, right? In the light most favorable to ourselves, and we're going to tell you what attributes we have that make us the best. But here's the thing that I think they're forgetting to tell you. I mean, if you look over here, these are the 5 badges that I've worn: officer, sergeant, lieutenant, captain, major, and every single one of them on there says sheriff's office. So when you talk about the transition, just understand, don't get confused. We have always been a sheriff's office. All the constitutional responsibilities have been the same. We're just going to change the administration of it. And so I think that's really important to note, because obviously people with political backgrounds will tell you that it's necessary. People with attorney back or degrees will tell you that you need a lawyer to do it. What you need is somebody with vision. I can tell you that we have not had, in the time that I was a major in 11 months, I did not have a single conversation with our director, not a voicemail, not a text message, not a meeting, not a Zoom call, not even a smoke signal. So what I'm trying to tell you is we need somebody that's going to be available, not just in attendance, but present with the community. And I have several, how much time do I have? Or am I?
About 1 minute.
Okay, there are several things that I want to talk about that I think we're gonna do. And the number one thing we got to do is we got to fortify uniform patrol. We don't have enough uniformed cops on the street. And I will say that I'm not going to say that we don't have them. I'm saying we don't have them deployed the way we need to have them. We have them in other responsibilities. They need to be out back on the road. I was the first person to start talking about a public corruption unit. The residents of Miami-Dade County are tired of hearing that they're elected officials, and hearing of allegations. We need to have an independent body that is capable of following the money, following the bank accounts, and figuring out who is corrupt and who's not, and do it independently. We also have a huge problem with home association and condo frauds. When somebody says that the law is the law, it's obvious they don't understand it. It's a very complex investigation. I've been dealing with it. I've met with senators. I've met with state reps. We're going to build a section, a full-time dedicated section to stop our residents from getting abused by some of the corrupt condo association issues that we have. And one of the things, I'm sorry.
Bring it to conclusions. We got to get to the questions.
Yeah, we'll get to the questions. I can talk all day.
Okay. All right. So you're running as a Republican.
Yes.
For sheriff.
Yes.
And then we have, there's 9 of you, I think, that, or 10 of you, or 11 of you that are running as Republicans.
Yes.
And 4 of you is running as Democrats. Now, I don't understand. If I call you up and I say somebody's breaking into my house, do you send people faster if they're Republicans?
Right.
So can you explain to me that what does it matter if you're Democrat or Republican?
Yes, Michael, so I'm going to agree with you 100%. This should not be a partisan race. It's not a partisan position. And one of the things that I continue and I base my entire platform on is that we got to remove the politics from policing. And not all politics are actually policy related. They're relationship based. And I think it's an issue. I have never in 27 years in my career in any level of command or operations or any corner of Miami-Dade County have I ever based a decision on the response to what's your name, date of birth, and political affiliation. Whoever asks that question should be in jail, whether you're Republican or Democrat. It's a state law that that they made it a partisan race. We have to announce what we are, but I'm not representing a party. I'm representing a police department and I'm representing a community.
The other counties, all the other counties have sheriffs. Have you ever seen a Democrat or Republican issue at all in the state when it comes to the sheriff?
I've never seen that. It shouldn't be that way. I don't know. I can't speak to the law and why they made it that way. But like I said, it should not be an issue in this race. It only complicates things.
I'd like to ask you also something that I thought of. With the speeding cars on our expressways.
Hmm.
So when you go on the turnpike, now I know that's the highway patrol, but when you go through a gantry and then you go through the next gantry, it captures you pay a certain amount of money for the toll. But the calculation between those 2 gantries can tell you the speed that you were driving.
Right.
So if you can prove what you could prove between 2 gantries that a car is speeding, going 80, 85 miles an hour, would you support? You don't need the police to do that. It's automatic ticket. Would you support having a ticket? I know it's Florida Highway Patrol, but it's the idea. Would you support that?
Well, I can certainly tell you that I don't know if it's legally sufficient. I don't see why it wouldn't, especially when in our department, it was administratively sufficient to hold us accountable within the department. So I would have to find out if it's legally sufficient. And if it is, that's not something I would be against. It's something that I'd be interested, because the problem here is if there are no consequences to committing traffic infractions, there's no stability and there's no predictability in our community. And that goes all the way across, whether it's traffic related or it's crime related. So again, I'm not against it. I'd like to find out if there's legal sufficiency behind it, but that's not something I would be against at all.
Okay, how about motorcycles? They get a free pass on the Palmetto. You can't catch them. They get a free pass.
Well, unfortunately, I can tell you this. We had to determine whether the juice was worth the squeeze, because unfortunately, a lot of these motorcycles, what we call in police work, these crotch rockets, they're driving at 120, 140 miles an hour. And a lot of times, if we try to chase them, we're not only putting the community in danger, but we're putting ourselves in danger. And the end result of a traffic accident where somebody kills themselves or runs into someone else for a traffic infraction, like I said, sometimes that's not public safety, you know, for the sake of being punitive for that. So sometimes the juice is not worth the squeeze. If we could stop them, if we found a magical way to do it, we would. But I think it's a complicated subject because of that.
Okay, the board, any questions from the board?
I have a quick one. Hi, we met the other day.
Hi there.
I have a question for you. I know this should be nonpartisan, but at the end of the day, you are running as a Republican.
Yes.
Is a law enforcement person here in Florida who is suing Ron DeSantis and his aides because Ron DeSantis, I guess, picked up the phone and wanted this law enforcement officer to do things that were illegal.
Right.
How would you respond if you are elected sheriff and you have a governor who seems to want to run the law enforcement to his benefit in the community, and you get a phone call and they want you to do something that you're not comfortable with, that you don't find legal? How do you respond to the governor?
Yeah, I think we have to determine whether it's a legal order. If it's a legal order, it's something that we may have to heavily consider to do. If it's something that's illegal or that I feel so uncomfortable with it that I think it's a violation of laws, I have a very simple answer, and that is never take a job you absolutely need. And the reason why is because if you need the job, you're going to bend over backwards and bend your principles to keep that job. I think this is one of those things that if we're going to show leadership, you have to show leadership in adversity. And it's something that I'm willing to do as the sheriff of Miami-Dade.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, we got to move on. I don't know if Ricky Mitchell is here.
Yes, Mike, I'm on.
Oh, you're here. Terrific.
Yes.
Okay, you've got 5 minutes to tell us about yourself and why you're running and who you are and what you've done, etc.
Thank you very much. Indeed, it's a pleasure to be here. My name is Ricky Mitchell. I'm running for sheriff. I am a native of Miami-Dade County, born and raised in Miami-Dade County. Graduated from high school here in Miami-Dade County. Attended Miami-Dade Community College, received an AA degree and an AS degree in mortuary science. I also attended FIU, where I received my bachelor's degree in criminal justice. I have a master's degree, I have a doctorate degree, and I was also blessed with my law degree. I served the Miami-Dade Police Department for 25 years, retiring as a lieutenant. I'm the owner of Mitchell Funeral Home for the past 36 years, which is a very successful business here in Miami-Dade County. I've worked Miami-Dade County from the County Line Road north to back to Naranja south. I have covered from Miami Beach to Jones Fish Camp west. I know Miami-Dade County. I have worked in specialized units. I was commander with the Carroll City, where we established the community policing units. Prior to finishing my doctorate degree, my dissertation was written, whereas it was titled Traditional Policing versus Community Policing. And we truly lowered crime by using community policing in Carroll City District. My priorities are very, very clear. The safety of our communities and our families. The safety of our senior citizens and our churches. The safety of our schools. It is time for us to lower gun violence and crime throughout Miami-Dade County. We must begin to deal with mental health issues here in Dade County. Therefore, we need to truly hire mental health therapists that's adept in that field, train them as police officers, and use them on the streets to handle mental health calls as well as our uniform officers. We need to develop and begin to start a mentor program in elementary school for the young kids. We need to put metal detectors in our schools. One life saved is worth every dollar that we spend to put a metal detector in our schools. Miami-Dade has always been a sheriff department. We have never voted for a sheriff. We was the only county out of 67 counties that never had a sheriff. Yes, we had a de facto person, which was our mayor who ran the sheriff department as a sheriff. However, our first appointed sheriff has been appointed by our governor in 1836. We need to bridge the gap between our community and the people. We need to hold our officers and our staff accountable, whereas we can regain the trust and the respect of the community. I will stop discrimination on the sheriff department. I will stop injustice, targeting, promoting a person just because of they are not qualified or they don't have the merits, but by being a friend or a relative of a person. I will make it fair for every officer and every civilian to be treated with respect by each and every supervisor on Miami-Dade Police Department. I feel that a good sheriff department will do a super good job for our community. And the only way we can do this is by regaining the trust of our community, involving our community and a lot of our daily operations, get away from the vehicles, start going back through the community, start going back into our businesses, learn your people and your residents, let them know you by first name. We must regain control of what's going on here in Miami-Dade when it comes to crime.
Okay, we've got to pause for our questions now. First thing I want to ask you, you're in the unique position of being in the funeral business. You've buried a lot of people. You've seen a lot of grief. Is that part of your mission to in this job? Do you bring a different perspective? You've seen a lot of suffering. Does that give you passion to continue this drive? Is that part of what you're doing?
No, Mike, to be honest with you, when I left Miami-Dade Police Department, I vowed that I would never return again. I was through with it. God touched my heart and directed my path to come, said, I want you to run in this race. This is the reason why I'm running in this race, because it was brought to me through a much more powerful person that I serve as my Lord and Savior, that directed my path and who's been taking care of me, who took care of me the 25 years. I have put my life on the line and I work these streets. However, I've worked homicide, and during my career at Miami-Dade, I still operated the Mitchell Funeral Home. So truly, I have a passion for the community. I was born and raised here. I have served community in several capacities. I've given back to the community. I love my community. This is not about race. This is not about color. This is not about culture. This is about serving the people, whether you, whoever, Republican, Democrat, Independent. Servicing the residents of Miami-Dade County is what I intend to do. Make things better for all of us.
From the board, any questions? So let's talk about the domestic shootings that seem to be happening more and more and more and more in our community. And before you say the Second Amendment says we can have a gun, as a sheriff, can you do more to besides react to the sending officers over to the crime scene? Is there anything more as a leader that you can do? Or is it just, this the cards we've been dealt?
No, I don't think it's the cards we've been dealt. I think what we need to do is to go out into community. We need to begin to relate to the community. We need to have meetings with families. When we see a problem with the family, we need to intervene then. We need to do this before a gun is fired. And this is by becoming a part of the people in the community, knowing your districts, knowing the people in your district will eliminate a lot of domestic problems because we can be a part of that family.
Okay. Have you done that? Have you gone out and tried to make the difference that you're talking about?
I have, sir. Yes, indeed. And it works.
Okay. Do you believe that we're safer having a gun in our house?
Mike, yes, you are. You're safer to have a gun in your house. Yes, you are. However, I would say this, the proper training, the proper safety of that gun. We know that if something takes place and you're able to protect you and your family, you're better off than waiting until one of our officers can finally get there if it's a serious situation. So yes, you are safer by having a gun in your residence with the proper training and the proper safety, keeping it away from children.
Okay. Listen, I thank you for your 10 minutes of fame.
Thank you.
I wish you good luck in the campaign.
Thank you.
And we're going to keep moving on.
Thank you.
We're doing a pretty good schedule. Our breaks are not going to be breaks. We're just going to keep moving. We're getting to the conclusion here. So thank you. And John Rivera, are you there? John Rivera, come in. Jim, is he there?
I do not see him listed here, Mike.
Okay. Let's see. He just texted he was coming. Let me text him back.
You're 4 minutes early for him.
Yeah, I know. But let's see. So we have Jeffrey Giordano, right?
Yes.
And do we have Ernesto Rodriguez? So we have two left. John Rivera is supposed to be coming in. John is trying to get in. Do you see it? So we have three left, which is John Rivera, Ernesto Rodriguez, and Jeffrey Giordano. And John says he's been pushing the launch meetings. Do you see him trying to come in?
No.
So while he's trying to figure that out, Jeffrey, do you mind going? Can you bring Jeffrey in?
Jeffrey, can you unmute yourself, please? He's muted. Hold on, let me find him. Jeffrey, you're muted.
Can you hear me?
Now we can, yes, sir.
Okay. My name is Jeffrey Giordano. I'm a Republican
But there's a
candidate
lot
for
of echo.
Miami-Dade County Sheriff.
lot
I
of
served
echo.
over 30 years with the City of Miami Police Department. And I say that because I got on in 1985. I continued full service until
Hold on 1
2013.
second. Jim, can you do something with the echo? There's a lot of echo. Everything is echoing. Where is that? Okay, stop. Nope. Still echoes. We haven't had that all evening.
Let me try to do it from my phone then. Hold on.
Okay.
Can you see me?
Yes,
Jim,
we
what
have
you got?
Am I still on echo?
No, it's fine now. It's
Okay,
fine
I'm
now.
using
Okay.
my phone. For some reason, my computer was echoing, so I came in.
Okay,
on my-
no, we got it now. So give us 5 minutes about who you are, why you're doing this, etc.
Okay, Jeffrey Giordano, Republican candidate for Miami-Dade County Sheriff. I was City of Miami law enforcement officer with the City of Miami from 1985 to 2014. I'm still in the reserve program. When I separated from service, I was the public safety director of Miami-Dade Community College, the medical campus. During my career, I was in the elite Miami Police Street Narcotics Unit as an undercover narcotics drug purchaser. Me and my partner were responsible for over 100 search warrants. We were defiant on those search warrants and responsible for over 1,000 drug arrests of hand-to-hand transactions. I was a pioneer in community policing, which at the time we were assigned an area. My area was Brickell, and we were the commanders of that area, given over 2,000 hours of overtime and responsible for the crime reduction in that area. If you look at Brickell now, it's nothing than it was years ago. I can remember meeting Steve Perricone's restaurant, when it was a house with a little lady in it that he purchased, surrounded by gang members. These gang members were doing extortion to businesses, shaking down residents, committing armed robberies. Sheridan on Brickell, those of you that remember 495 Brickell and the Hampton Inn on Brickell and 25 Road, they had violent robberies every week. We reduced crime through data-driven policing, but it also gave me an opportunity to work with several units and be part of those units and getting the crime under curb. And that was working with the gang detail hand in hand, doing operations with them, working with violent crimes units, working with the robbery units. I was the lead investigator on several organized fraud investigations. First Presbyterian Church, another one was go boxes that were used to change traffic lighting. It gave me an opportunity to do post-homicide assessments. I was also a hostage negotiator for over 10 years with the city, and I was a spokesperson for Chief John F. Timoney for over a year when he was the police chief with the city of Miami. So why do I want to be sheriff? Everyone wants to leave a career better off than it was when you were in it. And I don't see that happening. I see the hatred throughout the communities and throughout the United States that's happening with police officers. And I think I could better that. When I was a rookie, we have to go back to basics. When I was a rookie, the first thing we did at roll call is we said a pledge allegiance to the flag. You know what else we did? We bowed our heads down for a moment of silence. That could be used for prayer. That could be used for family reflection. But we took that moment to reflect on our home or prayer. And we also turned to the person next to us and we said, be careful out there. And we got your back. And we shook their hands before we left. Now that flag in the roll call rooms is left unattended. It's not spoken to. I want to bring back pledge allegiance to the flag and roll calls. What that's going to do is reiterate that the officer's core function when they leave that roll call room is to uphold the Constitution. And that's that every citizen has the right to due process, the right to freedom of speech, and protection of a legal search and seizure. And what else I'm going to do is we see the disrespect happening with law enforcement agencies throughout our country. And that's because you have these police cars wrapped up in certain organizations and certain woke movements. You have pink badges, you have LGBT badges, you have African American badges. It's going to be one badge, one department, and one car. There's other ways we could educate the community. Why not give out monograms to the citizens? Why not give out free monograms to police officers on Breast Cancer Month? Wearing a pink badge and degrading our uniforms is not what we're there for. We're not going to fall into political movements. When you see what's happening in Israel, you see what's happening in Palestine, I don't see too many departments allowing officers to wear those badges or even a badge representing the Haitian communities. So why are we isolating some communities while we're highlighting others and other movements? I was the board of directors for the LGBT as their allied male. And I see my battery is going low here. Hold on one second. Can you see me?
Yep. Got it.
Okay. Okay. So I was the allied male with Miami Beach Pride for over 6 years. I supported their community. I did security with my own private security agency from Wilton Manors, Fort Lauderdale to Miami Beach. One of my main functions as sheriff is I'm going to protect the kids in our school systems. And how I'm going to do that is not just saying it. From day one, I'm going to strategically relocate resources within inside the main station on 25th Street, placing over 2,000 some officers in trailers inside of our school systems where the community doesn't have to access them going through the school. They could access them through the schoolyard in the back. That's going to multiply officers within our school systems. But if these investigative units, we're talking about burglary units, administrative units, community relation units, they're all going to be placed inside schools. But if we have to interview any individuals or suspects, that's going to be done at the main station. But that's going to create tremendous amount of resources. We're going to work with the private sector to donate shot spotters inside each and every school. We have this technology. These shot spotters would locate and identify exactly where shots are being fired from. If we don't have the money to do it, the private sector can get involved and donate it for each and every school. I'm the only candidate.
I'm going to have to, well, you have to come to a conclusion here before, so we can get some questions in.
All right.
Well, you can conclude. You're finishing
Okay.
your.
I conclude. I'm the only candidate on day one. I'm going to sign a memo of understanding with Homeland Security under 287G, which is going to allow our deputies to enforce certain immigration laws. We have to have these schools ready. We have over 3,500 immigrants that are coming into Florida. Make that 1,500 immigrants a day that are coming here. They're not illegal, but once they stop reporting back to the federal government, they're going to become illegal. They're not going to be able to get jobs because they can't get a Social Security. We have to have these schools ready. We have to be able to go out there and do some type of enforcement, working with ICE and different agencies. When we have a hurricane, we ask the federal government for assistance, and that assistance consists of Red Cross and several agencies. So if they're going to be asking for our assistance, there's a reason that they don't want these individuals to be here. We're not going to go around there rounding them up, but we have to have these tools in place to enforce these laws.
Okay. So for me, quite honestly, seeing that 25% of our crimes are solved and robberies are solved and 50% of our murders, I'm more concerned about that than if you do the Pledge of Allegiance at roll call. The reality of what the numbers are in our community are more scary to me than if the police leave after saying the Pledge of Allegiance. Are you aware of these numbers of unsolved crimes, unsolved murders as part of your platform to try to address that issue specifically?
Yes, Mike, and fortunately, your concerns differ from other individuals' concerns, and a lot of concerns out there from citizens are that police officers are not upholding the rights of the citizens of the community. But yes, I'm concerned, and we have to go in there. We have to utilize resources that are available for us, and I'm talking about like artificial intelligence. We have this technology out there that can assist the investigators in solving these cases. They could be data driven. We could put the resources in there. It could be better in our resources, implementing them throughout the community through using tools like artificial intelligence, where we could prevent some of these crimes from occurring, and they can predict future crimes from occurring. But we have to not only be out there. One of the things that I want to do is, if you're on probation, 30% of the individuals that are on probation on violent crimes, they return back to the criminal justice system and jails within the first 3 years. Within 5 years, it's even more. So even if we get a conviction, they get released on probation and they commit violent crimes. But when they're on probation, they're giving up their civil rights. And when they give up their civil rights, whoever houses them is giving up their civil rights. We're going to do unannounced searches inside of these houses and make sure they're following their probation guidelines. And if they're not, we're going to get them for violation of probation and put them back in there. So it's one thing solving these crimes, but it's another thing making sure that they stay in the jail system and they don't come out and commit another one.
As myself, a community activist, I'm constantly reaching out to commissioners and the mayor with ideas to try to fix things. So whether I'm running for office or not running for office, a lot of my day is trying to point out to our mayor and our commissioners and to the press at times, things need to be fixed. Are you doing that, or are you waiting to win to fix it?
You don't have to wait to win. You can get involved. If you go to my website, Giordano4Sheriff.com, and I say number 4 sheriff because there's another paisan running by the name of Giordano. I don't know him, but he stole all my platforms, so I have to use the number 4. But yes, you can see documents that I've submitted to the state attorney's office on investigations I did for condo fraud, for example, and I've forwarded them to the state attorney's office, the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. You know, why wait to get in office? We can make change. And like you said, I've been a pioneer in community policing, and we need to empower the community. That's what it's all about. The sheriff doesn't have the answers. You know who has the answers? You, Mike, and everyone that's on the Zoom meeting. They're the ones that we need to pull together and get the answers and get out there and show up in force to make change.
Do you believe that the mental health aspect of the gun issue is related to mental health issues?
Absolutely. Not just in guns, but even in police work. You know, we're sending our officers out there in the street, and 30% of them finish their careers. You know why? Because a lot of them are dealing with mental health themselves. They show up on a homicide scene. They show up on a car accident where somebody's mangled. They see a victim, a child, raped, but yet there's no psychiatrist that they see, only if they get involved in a shooting. We have to make sure those officers are cleared to love themselves, where they could love their families. We have the #1 divorce rate out of any profession. Then they can go out there and love the community. But absolutely, we cannot have mental health and guns in the hand of mental health individuals. And how we can prevent that is we need to team up with the school systems. We need to know when somebody is suspended from school, and we need to visit that child. And he might be having domestic violence issues in school. He might be dealing with different things inside that we don't know about. And I'm not talking about go there as tough guys. I'm talking about go there. I want a department of deputies that's made of steel but made of velvet. That child's going to know he has a hand to reach out at, and he has a big brother and big sister within the police department, that he doesn't have to join a gang. He doesn't have to go back to the school with violence or go into a movie theater with violence. Mental health is a key role in our society today, and we have to address it properly.
Okay, to our board, any questions? Are ready to move on? Okay. Thank you very much, Jeffrey, and good luck in the campaign. And we're moving on.
Mike, I just want to say one thing, if I could. You know, there's a lot of candidates. You're going to forget a lot of our names. But anytime someone goes to the Olive Garden or eats a piece of lasagna or a slice of pizza or minestrone soup, please think of Giordano. You're not going to forget me August 20th. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. John Rivera, are you there?
Can you hear me?
We don't see you, but we hear you.
Okay, you can't see me?
No, we see a J.
A J. I see a
Gotta
J
hit
up here
the
too.
video. Hit the video button.
Okay. Boy, let's see here.
Should be next to the mute button, maybe.
Bottom left corner.
Start video.
There you go.
How about now?
All right. All right. Nice to see you. You got
Thank you.
10 minutes to 5 minutes to tell us about yourself, who you are, why you're doing this, where you come from, etc. I'll stop you after 5 minutes and we'll do some questions.
You got it. Thank you, Michael, and good evening to the board. My name is John Rivera, as you heard. I am a 40-year veteran of the Miami-Dade Police Department. I started off in patrol and worked my way up through Detective Bureau up to the point where I did major crimes, very complex crimes. And then I was sort of asked to become the president of the PBA, which I thought I could make a change there. There was some deficits and there were some things that were not going right, and we were at the point of bankruptcy and what have you. So I took it over and brought it from near bankruptcy to the most powerful union anywhere in the state, and financially and politically. We got involved in politics in a way that had never been before, because I am a true believer that you cannot affect change from the stands. You have to get on the field, and sometimes you take a hit and sometimes you give a hit. But that's how you make a change. You have to be a player, not a spectator. And so that's how we were able to accomplish so much. And so to tell you that my differences from other candidates, it is many. One, I've had my own businesses, very successful, and we sold them so that I can go into the retirement mode, which then I was recruited to run for sheriff. But so I did that, and I've also had many opportunities to speak before Harvard University at the law school. I spoke before University of Miami, FIU. I've been to an incredible amount of courses, and I was also selected by the White House to sit on a panel that was just overwhelmingly made up of supervisors across America. And I was one of 3 labor people that were appointed. I was also appointed by 2 separate governors to serve as a commissioner on the CJST, which is under FDLE, and that's the commission that deals with disciplinary matters on officers. We determined whether they kept their license to continue to be an officer, or maybe a suspension, or whatever we felt was appropriate. So they don't have that experience. They also don't have the experience like I have with budgets. I've had to deal with budgets not only on the county level, but we also represented 32 out of the 34 municipalities. So I had to deal with those budgets, and as well as the state of Florida. So that's a unique thing that I have that they don't. And by the way, I am a fiscal conservative, but we also had many occasions where we gave back to the community, and we fed the poor. We helped fix homes for elderly that couldn't do it for themselves. So my variety, my spectrum is much wider than the rest of them. Also, I have an unblemished record, and I think some of them can't say that. But the other thing is that makes me unique, and I'm looking at the paper here. I'm the only one that has endorsements from the leadership of our profession. I have 2 sheriffs that are endorsing me. I have 9 police chiefs endorsing me. I have a state attorney from Monroe County who's come forward and endorsed me. I have 2 retired judges, one of them who sat on the Supreme Court for a while. I have elected officials, one of them who was very involved with condo homeowners association fraud, and he knows that I can do it. I also have survivors of officers killed in line of duty, and also Louis Melendi. I don't know if you guys remember that name, but his daughter Shannon Melendi was killed many years ago. So I have a wide spectrum also of I don't have, and I don't want, and I haven't asked for special interest money. I don't want nor have endorsements from people who I think are doing it because they want to capitalize on some contracts or what have you.
John, I got to interrupt you so we can get some questions in.
Sure, absolutely.
So how many years were you president of the PBA?
I was 30 years here and then 18 years up in Florida PBA.
Were you policing while you were part of the?
I still had the responsibilities, but I wasn't on the road. The part of the contract was that I would go full time to the union.
And all those years, your high. What was your highest rank in the police department?
I was a sergeant in the police department, and then as president, I did much more, and I was able to affect more change than anybody, even a major.
Yeah, I remember seeing you in meetings when I first met you in 2011 and 2012. I have to admit, your style definitely inspired me. I had never seen anything like that. Are you still explosive that way, or?
Well, I can be. I mean, if it's all about righteousness, and I'm all about that, and whether it makes people mad or upset, too bad.
To our board, any questions before I move on here? No. Okay. So what is your so with all the years of policing that you've seen, is there any advice you have for us in the community in regard to the mass shootings that are happening every other place, but not so much here so far? Is there anything should we carry guns when we go out? What should we do?
Well, I am a proponent of the Second Amendment, but I will tell you that mass shootings can happen anytime, and it's very difficult to stop. What we do need to do is be well prepared for when it happens, so that we don't have a situation like we did in up in Broward County School. We need to know what it is that we need, how to act, and what to do, and how to get the information out, and how to stop it. My big thing is I want more police officers on the road, because I believe in preventing crime before it happens. Some people are saying, oh, well, I'm going to investigate crimes. Yeah, we're all going to do that. But I want to prevent crime. That way we don't have as many victims. And I think I heard you say something about the closure rates. The closure rates are pathetic. They're pathetic. Sexual batteries used to be around 60 to 70% closure rates. Now they're 28. Same thing with auto theft, and same thing with home burglaries. It's pathetic.
And you believe if you were sheriff for 4 years, the numbers will be different at the end of 4 years?
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Without a doubt. First and foremost, Mike, the morale in the department is down in the dumps. They don't want to do anything because no one has ever spoken up on their behalf. Even when when this noise coming up about defund the police, no one in our department, not the director, not assistant directors, none of the candidates that are running. I'm the only one that went on TV, national TV, and local TV and radio, and I denounced it. I said it was stupid, pathetic, and I said, please, I hope that departments don't fall into that. But I was the only one speaking. Everybody else stayed silent. And so, yeah, I'm going to make a difference. They know that I will protect them and I will also, I have no problems in disciplining them when they're doing things improper. But, there's a whole host of things that need to be done.
Did the PBA make endorsements this year? Did you go in front of them?
Oh, no, I haven't. And I gotta tell you, I've been sort of staying away from union endorsements because I didn't want the media to try to label me as the union trying to take over the police department. So I've been trying to stay away from that.
Okay, listen, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you all.
Your 10 minutes of fame, and we have one person left, and we've completed our evening. Thank you very much.
Yes, bye-bye.
Ernesto Rodriguez, are you standing by?
I'm here.
Terrific. And for the audience, this is last. This is everybody after Ernesto. So tell us about yourself. Take 5 minutes. Why are you running? Who are you? What have you done? How do you plan to see the sheriff's department under your leadership? So go ahead and start.
5 minutes never enough. Well, thank you, first of all, for the opportunity. I am a Cuban refugee who came to this nation when I was 16 years of age. My uncle defected in '63 and through the Mexican embassy made it to the United States, went back to Salamanca, Spain, graduated from medical school, came back, joined the U.S. Army, and claimed us legally. In 1978, I, along with my parents, my brother, and 2 sisters, came over to Miami, and this has been our home ever since. I went and graduated from Sunset Senior High. Home is Kendall, still to this day, to my parents, to the siblings, my sons. Everybody lives in Kendall, from Lakes of the Meadows to Beltran and Glenver Heights throughout. The only one that's now living in the Redlands is me. So anyways, I graduated from Sunset Senior High. I worked to help out the family back then in the south end of the county, picking avocados for $10 a day. I worked at the flea market in Hialeah and Opalaca, and eventually I made it to the hospital, back then American Hospital, which is today Kendall Regional Medical Hospital. By then, my uncle was the chief of staff. In 1987, I joined the police department. I've been a policeman for 37 years, a supervisor for over 26. And I began my career right there in Kendall, in the Kendall district. From Kendall, I interviewed and I was drafted to do economic crimes. Along my parents were starting their business. I also worked as a comptroller for the company, doing the numbers for the company. From economic crimes, I was drafted by the United States Secret Service to join a special task force. And I had the privilege of being chosen, the only one amongst almost 3,500. And I worked with 2 administrations, the Bush Senior and then the Clintons, and also by request, the head of security by the ex-president of Spain, Jose Maria Aznar. I came back and I said, I never left the department, by the way. This assignment, I came back to a group that back then we had, and we don't have today. It's a Criminal Intelligence Bureau. Criminal Intelligence Bureau investigated crimes locally and internationally from organizations that were targeting the United States. From there was a contract of my life by one of the groups, and the decisions were made to take me out of there and put me in Goulds. I went from all that to Goulds State Police. God had a plan for me. And I was one of the first jump out boys. Worked Goulds, worked Perrine, was part of the first intergovernmental bureau with regulatory and enforcement agencies, EPA, DEP, Health Department, Team Metro at the time. From there, I got promoted. I was a sergeant in 1998, I think it was. I went back to Kendall. Our office was right beside a Kendall district station. Once again, I got promoted to lieutenant 20 years ago, which is my current rank, before you ask, because I heard you ask, John. And I came back to Cutler Ridge. I was also a liaison with Interpol. I'm going really fast because I know I only have 5 minutes. So I worked, I was at the link with Interpol, and also I supervised the Marshals Task Force when I worked warrants, as well as HIDA. HIDA is a high intensity, as you know by now, part of the DEA. So I also supervised and monitored the wire room for DEA. So I worked with the Secret Service, the DEA, and the Marshals. Went to warrants, like I said, spearheaded the Fugitive Task Force. From there, I worked records, paperwork, policy, and procedure for 2.5 years. From there, and I'm sure I'm going to miss something, went back to as a lieutenant to Northwest District. From Northwest District, I worked downtown supervising the security for Fisher Island, Key Biscayne, Metro Rail, the Government Center, and Jackson Memorial Hospital. And from there, I made it back down south. I lived in the Redlands now for the last 28 years. And I supervise the agricultural patrol and environmental crimes section of the county. The thefts of horses, any crime targeting the 15,000 pounds of avocado or mamey per night. I'm the only one who actually, not by myself, nobody can do it by himself or herself. We targeted a group that were killing us, and they were well organized. The ringleader had been here for only 2 years from Cuba. I contacted ICE. We arrested him back in this April, and by May, that's a record time, May 24th, I believe, we deported this individual back to Cuba. He was killing us. The second in that organization is sitting in Chrome Detention Center, and the third one in Broward. My oldest son, I got 3 kids. My oldest son is a lieutenant in the department. He's actually a lieutenant in Hammocks, where he lives. He
Gotta
was
wrap
also
it up here. We got time for the questions.
My oldest son is a fireman, and my daughter is a teacher for special needs. We all came to serve.
Yes. Now, did you say you work in Kendall?
I did. When I first started, I worked in Kendall for almost 6 years.
Okay,
And
so
I-
in Kendall, I see all the time on next door from people. My car was stolen. My wheels were stolen. My car was vandalized.
Yep.
It doesn't ever go away. So what are you guys doing?
I don't work in Kendall now. I worked in Kendall
Oh, but what are
from
you going to
maybe.
do when you're the sheriff? What are you going to do to stop? You gonna put a
Proactive.
police
Let me
on
tell,
every
let me
officer?
tell you what. Let me tell you. My sister-in-law, who yesterday had her first grandchild, went to a meeting specifically for that in Kendall, and the solution was to put officers on bikes. That is a joke. You got to go back to bases. Boots on the ground. Put their resources where they need it, and let policemen be policemen. If we continue to be tied to political figures that don't want police officers to do what needs to be done, you got to be out there. They got to get down and dirty. You got to change the culture. They got.
What are you going to do? What's your order on the first day? We call you up. The crime in Kendall is rising. So you made all these comments. Are you going to call up and say, get the police officers moving around our communities in their car? What are you going to do?
Listen, if somebody tells you that on day one they're going to change the world, they're lying to you. By the time 2 or 3 months in advance, you got to be putting your staff in place, and you got to be very clear of what the marching orders are. What you got to do is you got to go back and give the platoon commanders the autonomy to do police work. The sergeants on the ground, they're the ones who know what's going on. Bring morale back, because every time we do that, what are you going to put officers on bikes? You think that's going to really change? You had a shooting in Hammocks 2 days ago on 142nd and 72nd. This is happening countywide. You have to change the hiring process. You got to change the command staff before you get in there the first day. Whoever tells you day one, I'm going to do it.
Our current system, they don't know to do that?
They don't want to do it. We're tied. Ask police officers. Look, go to the jail. You have a 4 or 5 hour wait on cars because the jail's backed up. Police officers don't want to wait 4 or 5 hours. When they do what needs to be done, they get hammered all the time. And the reality of the matter is they want to go home, and they don't want to be tried for doing police work.
Okay, any of our board members have questions?
Go ahead.
I thought, Leonore, you said you had a question. Hello? Jim, you bringing her in? Jim, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Is Leonore coming in?
I'm here.
There
There she is. Okay.
Okay, I was looking at messages and that someone says something about animal abuse. What does that mean?
I don't know.
Animal-
What's the question?
He's saying animal abuser, so I want to know the person that put that message. What does that have to do with
I
Mr.
don't know.
Rodriguez?
I don't know. Do you have any idea what they're talking about?
Something about horses. I don't know. It's a
Is there
message
something with horses?
that's
Ernesto,
coming in.
something with horses. Somebody commented. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, I have horses. And when the campaign started, people started saying that I had too many horses, that I have too many dogs. I saved the life of hundreds of animals throughout my career. I have a passion for animals. I was the chairman for the horse shows in Tropical Park as well. So I don't know, tell them.
I don't know what it is either. So
Yeah.
listen, we appreciate all your comments tonight. And that concludes having all the sheriff candidates except maybe one that didn't show up. So I thought we did a good